This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Sunday. Clinically, Casey, welcome in. Facebook, welcome in. I finally figured out what was going on. I've thought I've been streaming to Facebook for like 2 weeks. I finally am. Apparently, I have to go to Facebook and actually click a button. Every other service, I just start streaming and it goes. Facebook, I have to go and actually nope. I'm live. Princess Kimberly, good evening. So welcome in Facebook. You don't have chat, but at least we're broadcasting over there to you fucks. Get you some learning over on the Facebook. You guys need it desperately. Welcome. The news be doing stupid shit, and I'm not high enough for it. Give me 1 sec. They were doing some roofing on the house next to me. And I waited until I heard no more hammering. It was 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, they're done. I'll open my window. I'll get back in my recliner, my boxers over here. Boom. They're right back up on the roof, all looking in at me as I'm playing video games in my boxers. Hope you enjoyed the show, guys. Boy, do I have some crazy news for you tonight. I got this woman. She claims she only dated right-wingers for years. She's going to let us in on their insecurities, apparently. San Francisco unveiled a statue of a giant naked woman. You're never going to guess where they have to go in to service it. I'm going to introduce you to the horse girl that was at Coachella this weekend. Remember that trans fencer that we covered probably about a week ago? And the woman that refused to compete against her and made a big spectacle of it and then ran to Fox News. She had just beaten male competitors like a week before. And the trans woman finished 24th in the tournament. So yeah, there's your advantages. The trans pilot is suing for defamation. I've got another one. I got this stupid young lady went in front of her city council and then ran to Fox News saying she was replaced. She was replaced on the team by a male. It's all BS. Here's your meme of the day. I am the great tariffholio. I need tariffs for my bunghole. I don't know why that made me laugh so much, but it did. Stupid AI-looking Trump. We've got multiple people plotting to kill him. A teen has been arrested, wanted to kill the president and apparently his parents. A Butler, Pennsylvania. Does that sound familiar to you? Butler, Pennsylvania. A man accused of threatening to murder the president. And since we're talking about Butler, Pennsylvania and people trying to murder the president, I figured I'd give you an update on Thomas Matthew Crooks. Or Matthew Thomas Crooks. Whatever. Crooks Thomas Matthew. Whatever it is. Someone tried to set fire to the home of Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. A judge is ordering daily updates from the HHS. Or DHS, not HHS. I'm sorry, I'm losing it. Judges ordered daily updates from DHS. Too many acronyms around here. On a Maryland man they deported. An attorney was sent a letter saying she was told to self-deport. She's a citizen. She's a citizen. was told to self-deport by the administration. The U.S. has entered into negotiations with Iran. Kevin O'Leary went on Fox and was like, just fucking tariff China 400%. Because I'm sure that'll work out. A lot of people in Appalachia told me that they were voting for Trump because he cared about them and their needs, especially after the hurricane and the flooding in North Carolina and Georgia. Trump denied an extension of FEMA aid to the state of North Carolina. They said Biden didn't care about him. Bernie says it's not just Musk and Republicans, and once again, I'm telling you, he's running for president. He's taking aim at the Democratic Party. I think he's doing the thing that he didn't do before, which was attack his friends like Chuck Schumer. An oil well leak in Colorado has been contained after like a week of spewing. There was a shooting earlier in Minneapolis. Remember when we watched body cam footage out of Idaho? Boy, we've got new details on that one. Holy shit. I thought it was wrong just watching the body cam footage as we saw it. I can't believe they released it before all of this went down. Maybe it wasn't body cam footage, was it? It was bystander footage we were watching. It wasn't body camera footage. That's how it got released. Makes sense now. They rolled up on a yard. You guys might have been here with me. There was like a chain link fence, and there was a suspect laying on the ground with a knife, and they rolled up and shot him within seconds. That kid was autistic. That was a 17-year-old autistic kid. He's now died. A pastor from East Tennessee was in South Africa giving a sermon, was kidnapped right in the middle of the sermon. A high schooler is in hot water after posting a photo to social media of him standing in front of a Nazi flag. The city of Boise refused to back down after they were told to remove their pride flag. All that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol live. Holiday, good evening. Flash, good evening. Wait, did you just have your first Reese's peanut butter cup? Oh, they come with jelly. I like peanut butter and jelly, but that really doesn't sound appealing to me. I love me some chocolate and peanut butter. I think that's the perfect combination. I was like, Holiday just now discovering how awesome Reese's cups are. It was like, come on, my friend. Byronic, good evening. I think I did see an advertisement for the jelly one. Ooh, they have caramel? I got some Reese's eggs and they had caramel in them. I also got ones that had like marshmallow in them, and I didn't care as much for those. The caramel ones were better. Do you know what this time next week, we be gearing up to get some cheap Easter candy. Yeah. Cheap Easter candy. Live Music Monday. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing the best of WrestleMania live performances. Several bands have played Wrestlers Out to the Ring, Living Color, Saliva, POD. There's also Aretha Franklin, Ray Charles, so many from throughout the years. That's what we're going to be watching for Live Music Monday tomorrow night. Because I'm in WrestleMania mode. But before we do that, we got to get to the news, and we've got a jam-packed show tonight. Holy fuck. Start off in Pennsylvania, where the governor apparently had his house attacked by an arsonist. An arrest has been made as of a couple of hours ago. He spoke earlier. Maybe he just learned from Trump and his incident in Pennsylvania on how to raise your profile when you're running for president.
Breaking right now at 6:30 on CBS News Philadelphia. New information on an arson attack at the governor's mansion. Josh Shapiro and his family forced to evacuate their home in the middle of the night.
Could be 50-50, Flash.
Violence is not okay. This kind of violence is becoming far too common
Oh,
in
fuck
our
you.
society.
Authorities are calling this an act of terrorism. Good evening. I'm Aziza Schuler. The governor and state police just wrapped up a news conference just a short time ago, and they revealed they have a man in custody. He's identified as 38-year-old Cody Balmer of Harrisburg. Investigators have been combing the grounds of the governor's mansion all day. The fire was set just hours after Shapiro, along with friends and family, celebrated Passover in the home. Our Ray Strickland is live in Harrisburg right now with the latest. Ray, what do we know so far?
Well, Aziza, state police described this as a targeted attack, saying Balmer devised a methodical plan where he was in and out of the governor's mansion here in less than a minute. Video shows the damage of what he allegedly did: broken and charred windows with crime scene tape surrounding the back portion of the home. State police say Balmer was able to gain access to the property around 2 o'clock in the morning by jumping the fence around the property. State troopers were searching for him, but he was still able to get into the mansion using a homemade device to set the fire. State police say charges are expected to be...
Wait a minute. They knew he breached the property, and then they couldn't find him? Is that what... Did I hear that correctly? That they knew he breached the property, and then they couldn't find him in time, and he lit the place on fire? Man, cops are useless, aren't they? If I heard that correctly.
Devised a methodical plan where he was in and out of the governor's mansion here in less than a minute. Video shows the damage of what he allegedly did: broken and charred windows with crime scene tape surrounding the back portion of the home. State police say Balmer was able to gain access to the property around 2 o'clock in the morning by jumping the fence around the property. State troopers were searching for him, but he was still able to get into the mansion using a...
So I heard that correct. He jumped the fence. They saw him jump the fence, and then they couldn't find him, and he was able to do that. Is it correct, right?
homemade device to set the fire. State police say charges are expected to be filed within the next few hours. Police say Balmer will face attempted murder, terrorism, aggravated arson, and aggravated assault charges. The governor became visibly emotional when he reflected on the frantic moments a state trooper began banging.
I don't want to downplay this. It could have been MAGA. It could have been anti-Semitic attack. It could have been any number of reasons.
His door.
Could have been a leftist.
Him and his family.
Not as likely, though, I don't think.
Lori and I are overwhelmed by the prayers and the messages of support that we've received from all across Pennsylvania and all across the United States. If this individual was trying to deter me from doing my job as your governor, rest assured I will find a way to work even harder.
Man, I hate him. He is so phony.
And state police did say that the FBI is now involved in the investigation and that evidence that's been collected at the scene will soon be analyzed by a forensics lab. Fortunately and thankfully, no one was injured in this incident. As for a possible motive, state police did not say, but they did mention that a security review is underway following the incident. Reporting live here at the governor's mansion in Harrisburg, Ray Strickland, CBS News, Philadelphia.
Thank you, Ray. And people across party lines are sending their messages of support to the governor. Former Governor Tom Bridge posted.
I'll send my messages of support to him. Suck my balls.
Quote, Michelle and I are so thankful that Governor Shapiro and his family are safe. The images showing the damage to the home that we lived in with our children for nearly 8 years are heartbreaking. All of us should feel safe in our homes. And local leaders across the region echoed Ridge's words of support. They voiced relief that Shapiro and his family are safe and expressed concern about the overall
T-minus, welcome in.
We're staying on top of the developments of this story. You can get the latest at cbsphiladelphia.com.
I think he's just phony, and we know for a fact now that authenticity is what wins elections more than anything, more than your policy, more than your good looks. It's coming across as authentic. So I'm sorry, Shapiro, you're not the one. Not the only alleged assassination plot we're going to be covering from over the weekend. Holy shit. A teen accused of trying to assassinate Trump, and he wanted to kill his parents too. What the hell?
A federal search warrant, unsealed Friday, details a murder plot as part of a plan targeting President Donald Trump. The documents attribute that plot to 17-year-old Waukesha student Nikita Kassab. Charged in the shooting deaths of his mother, Tatiana, and stepfather, Donald Mayer, inside their home February 11th. According to prosecutors, the teenager stayed inside the home with their bodies for 12 days.
What?
The body was appeared to have been deceased for some time, was unable to definitively identify who it was.
Police arrested Kassab in Kansas weeks later, finding him with his stepfather's car, gun, and $14,000. The motive for the murders, according to the federal warrant, was
Battle
to
of Possum.
use that money to fund a plan calling for the president's assassination, to, quote, foment a political revolution in the United States and save the white race.
Totally a Nazi.
Records, Kassab shared an affinity for the neo-Nazi group, the Order of Nine Angles. And they also reference a 3-page manifesto quoted as saying, as to why, specifically Trump, I think it's obvious. By getting rid of the president and perhaps the vice president, that is guaranteed to bring some chaos. The records show Kassab on the platforms TikTok and Telegram discussed buying a drone to use in an attack. And investigators say he told a classmate, quote, when they saw 10 consecutive attacks in the news, it would have been him.
Wow. Stayed with the body for 2 days. Quite full of himself indeed. 10 attacks, and he didn't even get one off. Butler County man accused of threatening to assault, murder President Trump and other U.S. officials. Butler County man is accused of making threats to assault and murder President Donald Trump and other U.S. officials and U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents. Sean Monper, 32, has been federally charged, according to acting U.S. Attorney Troy Rivetti. Authorities said that on Wednesday, the FBI received an emergency disclosure regarding threats posted to YouTube by a user going by the name Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan! It was determined the threats happened between January 15th and April 5th. According to the criminal complaint, an investigation confirmed that the internet activity associated with Mr. Satan corresponded with Monper's home in western Pennsylvania. The investigation uncovered that Monper got a firearms permit not long after Trump's inauguration. In February, investigators said that Monper commented using his Mr. Satan account, saying, I have bought several guns and been stocking up on ammo since Trump got in office. In March of 2025, Monper commented using his account, eventually I'm going to do a mass shooting. This is is just somebody wanting, like, it's a plea for help, right? He wants to be caught. Doesn't actually want to do it. I've been buying one gun a month since the election, body armor and ammo. The following threatening statements were uncovered by authorities and listed within the criminal complaint. On February 17th, he said, nah, we just need to start killing people. Trump, Elon, all the heads of agencies. I am totally on a watch list. All the heads of agencies Trump appointed and anyone who stands in the way. Remember, we are the majority. MAGA is a minority of the country, and by the time it's time to make the move, they will be weakened. Many will be crushed by these policies, and they will want revenge too. American Revolution 2.0. Silent, welcome in. I'm going to assassinate him myself. This threat was made in a YouTube video titled Live, Trump's Address to Congress. ICE are terrorist people. We need to start killing them, he said on March 18th. On April 1st, April Fools. If I see an armed ICE agent, it was just an April Fool's joke. Come on. I will consider it a domestic terrorist and an active shooter and open fire on them. Can we find the video on YouTube? Let's try. DJ Dub, welcome in, my friend. It's about assassinating Trump. Is that something you agree with? I'd say his video's been taken down. That's also a really difficult with that title. What was his name? Can we find his Mr. Satan? Can we find Mr. Satan? I'm guessing they took his channel down. Do we have video of the arrest? They apparently did.
Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. We take you
My Lord.
to Pennsylvania. Back at the site of the failed July 2000.
A lot of the comments I was reading you were from live streams. Apparently outside where they arrested. Isn't that where the... Because this guy was in Butler, Pennsylvania. Isn't that the site where the rally was held? What's the odds like two guys in Butler, Pennsylvania want to kill the dude? Speaking of which, you probably haven't heard much about Thomas Matthew Crooks. Found this little ditty, happened to be posted in the New York Post last month. Would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crooks may have had an accomplice, data shows, as investigators say FBI is suppressing info. Who's saying the FBI is suppressing info?
Part of a larger criminal network?
There were others in helping, assisting Thomas.
And does one private investigator's claim of an electronic device still pinging at his old high school have any merit or implications? Plus, those close to Crooks say public narratives about him are all lies.
It still baffles me now.
My findings in Western Pennsylvania almost 8 months later, right now.
Yay, let's do it.
13th, 2024, a seemingly mild-mannered college kid almost altered the course of human history when he shot Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. But to friends, neighbors, former teachers, and investigators, why Thomas Crooks did what he did is just as much of a mystery now as it was back then. Videographer Matt McDermott and I spent a week in Butler, Pennsylvania and nearby Bethel Park in a sometimes wild journey to find out what really happened.
This is the New York Post doing this. This is a New York Post investigation. Investigator. So
the trail is as cold as the ground that you see in front of me. The motive remains unknown. Why?
What we found shocked us. Even though
because I don't think the Trump administration wants you to know.
Corey Comparator and seriously injured 2 others while grazing Trump's right ear, there's a lot of sympathy for him in his hometown of Bethel Park. Several people told us they don't think Crooks acted alone and that he might have been a patsy. Some also accused Biden's FBI of suppressing some information.
Biden's FBI!
His body was cremated so quickly, and what his overseas encrypted accounts revealed. Private investigator Doug Hagmans had a team of 7 working on this mystery after being hired by a secret client shortly after the event. He says his team used a technique called geofencing. Hagman told me they located
this is not reliable,
probably cell phones, that belonged to other people, but were pinpointed to being with Crooks at his home, at his old high school, at his gun club, and even at the rally. Hagman said he doesn't believe Crooks acted alone and that he was part of a criminal network that's still out there and still wants to kill President Trump.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I think there is sufficient evidence to support the conclusion that there were others in help.
Well, you presented no evidence, fucker.
Crooks, based on the presence of electronic devices at his home as well as at the Butler Fairgrounds.
But to all his neighbors, Thomas Crooks seemed like a regular...
That geolocating shit is bullshit.
He seemed like a normal kid. He seemed nice enough. He'd wave and smile, every day he'd be out walking around. So it's not like he was...
So she don't know shit about him.
Or anything like that, Seemed like a very normal teenager.
Everyone we spoke to pushed back on the narrative at the time that painted Crooks as a Columbine-type loner who wore camo to school, was bullied, and even supposedly threatened to shoot up his school once. They told us that was all false. Crooks' former guidance counselor, Jim Knapp, knew Crooks and his parents and older sister since he was in 9th grade.
Do you remember where you were when you heard the news
that
Thomas Crooks had tried to kill the person who'd become the president of the United States?
Sure did. And it was like, are you kidding me? I said, this kid I would have never, ever thought.
That's what they all say.
Or never would have done this.
Crooks' former computer technology teacher, Xavier Harmon, was one of many who told us Crooks was not only a very gifted student, but a nice kid. Harmon said he called Crooks...
Well, except like the Columbine shooters.
I didn't believe it.
Everybody's like, no, they were some weirdos.
And this individual, this picture there, presenting of somebody who was a total 180 of who he was in my classroom.
His Bethel Park high school friend said you can never really know anyone, but still said he was shocked at learning what his old economics classmate did.
This kid that I played football with, sent me a message. He was like, do you know Matthew Crooks? And I was like, no. And he was like, oh wait, Thomas Matthew Crooks, you graduated with him, right? I was like, yeah, what about him? And he was like, that's who tried to assassinate Trump. I was like, get the heck out of here, dude. It still baffles me now.
He went to the gun range 43 times in the year prior to shooting Donald Trump. 43 times to the Clairton range. Did he ever talk about that kind of hobby before shooting?
No, I would have never taken Tom for a gun person.
As Flash pointed out, he had on that malicious shirt. Like, every time you see a picture of him, he's got one of those fucking malicious shirts on. No, I'd never know him for a gun nut. Really, motherfucker? Seriously?
To be honest, he seems more of hang out and play video games type of person.
But those were the people who spoke to us. Many did not. Thomas's parents still live in the very small ranch home in Bethel Park, but have never given interviews.
I'm standing right in front of the Crooks home where Thomas Crooks grew up. His parents, Matthew and Mary, are inside now. They were inside yesterday. Apparently, they never come out of their house except at 3 a.m. to go get the groceries. This, according to a number of neighbors.
Crooks's older sister, Katie, lives in an apartment complex nearby, but good luck getting to her.
Behind me.
Oh, were you stalking her?
Where Katie Crooks, Thomas Crooks' only sibling, lives. She's about 23 years old.
Oh my God, leave this young lady alone.
And when we went to see if we could talk to her, we were met by two men in her apartment building complex that came to the door and told us in no uncertain terms that we had to go. They were polite, but they said, and I quote, "This story is dead, and you need to know that."
We also
oh my God.
Club where Crooks practiced an astonishing 43 times between August 2023 and the Trump rally in July 2024.
We are right now rolling up to the Clairton gun range. This is a gun club and a shooting range about half an hour from Thomas Crooks' house. And he went once in May, 2 months before the attempted assassination of President Trump. And the day after, oddly enough, there were officers, agents from the Department of Homeland Security that were here shooting as well.
Louisiana Congressman Clay Higgins told us, however, that he's pretty sure Crooks acted alone. He investigated the incident for months as part of a bipartisan congressional.
Oh yeah, Clay Higgins.
But he admitted to me that he still hasn't found a motive. Higgins hopes the new FBI director, Kash Patel, will help him find out more about Crooks in the coming months. But the people we spoke to said they don't believe the mystery of why Thomas Crooks did what he did will ever.
Yeah, Chip Roy thinks.
Why did he do it? I said why I thought
he acted alone.
They believe it. Evil. You know, from time he left high school to 2 years later, something happened to that young man during that time, Frank. And I'm a firm believer, and as we talked earlier, Dan, about my current job in the religion, I believe evil is in the world. The devil has hit the world. It has always been in the world. But I think the devil had really inflicted him, caused him to snap, and that's why he did it.
It was the devil.
Xavier Harmon wants to remember his old student, not the scary young man he read about in the media after the shooting.
I just want everybody to understand who Thomas really was and the individual that I knew. You know, the monster that's being created isn't the individual that sat there for 2 years in my classroom. So I'm going to focus in my heart and my mind to always remember that young man and not who was created.
It is kind of weird that Trump doesn't talk about it anymore. That's just odd. Like, he has a list of enemies and people that he constantly bitches about. Never says his kid's name. Unfortunately, he's apparently in really good health, or at least that's what his White House checkup shows, as much as these shooters have tried to affect that. Trump's days include participation in multiple meetings, public appearances, press availability, and frequent victories in golf events.
I'm joined now by Dr. Kavita Patel, White House Policy Director under President Obama. She is now a professor of medicine at Stanford and an NBC News medical contributor. Welcome. Anything jump out at you from this report? I mean, the fact that he wins golf tournaments, that was kind of unique, you know.
Yeah, Alex, those are not normally things I see on a physical, but I have to tell you, any of us, including myself, I'd be pretty excited to have this physical. It was a pretty thorough evaluation of a very healthy 78-year-old. And, you know, this is the first time the White House has released its physical since 2020. So I was kind of looking to see some changes that could be for the better, for the worse. It's all been for the better so far.
Don't insult Cheeto dust like that.
As we age, I mean, 4 years ago, we didn't get the full report, granted, but does it make sense that with 4 years of aging, everything would be this excellent? And I have to note that as I'm looking through it, and I'm no doctor, but the word normal is used all the time without specificity.
That's right. So yes, and you're right to break it down and kind of question.
Who did the checkup? Was it Dr. Ronnie?
And look at it. So a couple of things.
Dr. Pill Pusher?
What does make sense is that the major drivers for what we would call kind of morbidity, mortality, things that make you sick, things that make you die, that's really cardiac disease, cancers, and he's been pretty thoroughly evaluated for them.
Hi, everybody.
On 2 medications for his cholesterol. One,
hi, Dr. Nick.
Is incredibly kind of newer on the block, Alex. And I think it's just a proof, by the way, getting back to like research and science, this is the product of research and science. So he is taking medication that is helping to decrease what normally has been killing people, cardiac disease. Now, on the point you're making, I never, and I usually rarely use the word never, I don't put the word normal on anything because that is not really a scientific term. We say things can be within normal limits. But we don't say normal mental exam, normal this. And so he's got a lot of, I think, as you rightly point out, what I would say is a layification. They took some medical terms and decided to make them easier for everyone to understand and understand how healthy he is. So I did look really to the vital signs and to the blood work that they did make available, CT scan, colonoscopy that they reported on from the past. Those all do appear to be not just within normal limits, but without any evidence of disease. So that's all pointing to something pretty healthy.
Anything missing that you'd like to still know?
Yeah. Yes. So to your point about kind of why, what do we think about aging? They have what we would call kind of, baseline mental status exam. That's something that I do on a lot of patients. And they said that he had a, quote, normal score 30 out of 30. One might call that perfect. But what we're really looking for is someone who's 78 years old and someone who has the responsibilities that the president does is to look for more comprehensive brain imaging. We don't see that. I would expect that if we had brain imaging, we would see evidence of aging. And to your point, Alex, are we seeing any compromise of other functional areas? We don't have any proof or evidence of that because those tests haven't been revealed. Have they been done? I don't know. But I think that would be something that in a 78-year-old, like we have asked for from President Biden and from other presidential candidates, there have been legislators that have been called.
Oh, I missed the swing.
Exams all throughout, Democrat or Republican.
Right.
And I think we're calling into question aging. And to your point, Alex, are we seeing any compromise of other functional areas? We don't have any proof or evidence.
Yeah, that was a horrible swing.
Have they been done? I don't know. But I think that would be something that in a 78-year-old, like we have asked for from President Biden.
But I mean, he would have been like chipping or something there. Like he wasn't driving.
Alex, are we seeing any compromise of other functional areas? We don't have proof or evidence of that because those tests haven't been revealed. Have they been done? I don't know. But
I've never played golf in real life. My swing looks better than that.
We have asked for from President Biden and from other presidential candidates. There have been legislators that have been calling for these types of exams all throughout, Democrat or Republican.
Right.
And I think we're calling into question with that last panel you had. If we're talking about somebody who's in their 80s also being president, should that become part of a standard physical for the president of the United States? And I would say that it's recommended. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Kavita Patel, thank you so much for weighing in on all of it.
Well, the fucker's in good health, I guess. What's not in good health is our democracy and the rule of law. Still really concerned by all this, deporting people that speak out against Israel and shit. Or just random brown people, it appears. A judge, I think as of this afternoon, has ordered daily updates on the Maryland man that was sent to El Salvador mistakenly by a clerical error.
The judge has ordered the Trump administration to give her daily updates on the whereabouts of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and the progress being made to get him out of El Salvador and back into the U.S.
The order handed down during a court hearing today, which happened less than 24 hours after the Supreme Court unanimously ruled the government must facilitate the release of Kilmar from an El Salvador prison.
That ruling set off a flurry of court filings and rulings, all of which happened in less than 12 hours' time. It all ended with the government saying it didn't have anything to report today in court.
Yeah, of course, Paul Wagner was in the courtroom. Paul, can you tell us what happened?
Well, Susan, and on this judge, Paula Zini, was clearly angry, frustrated, and agitated today with the answers she was getting from...
On a Sunday!
More than once, she said, "Where is Kilmar Abrego Garcia?" And each time, the government attorney said, "All we know is that he's in El Salvador." She then said, "What steps has the U.S. government taken to bring him back here to the United States?" And that government attorney, Drew Ensign, who's the Deputy Assistant Attorney General, said, "I have no information for you, Judge. The only thing that was clear is that they said the government intends to comply with the order of the Supreme Court."
Just like last Friday, Jennifer Vasquez Sura, Kilmar's wife, came to court with a few dozen supporters, packing the courtroom and standing with her after the hearing. A hearing that failed to deliver the answers she undoubtedly wanted to hear.
For the second time in this case, they sent a lawyer into court who had no answers. He explained that his clients, the government, have chosen not to give him any information, not to give him any evidence. And the district judge, appropriately, was not willing to accept their vague and unsubstantiated assertions that, "Don't worry, Judge, we'll take care of this all in due course."
Judge Paula Zini took issue with the government's claim it was reviewing the Supreme Court's ruling and needed more time to reply. She reminded the attorneys her order for Abrego Garcia's return was in effect for nearly 3 days before the case was appealed to the Supreme Court. She asked, what was the government doing during all that time?
He should be here in the United States. It's a 5-hour flight. So the judge ordered that they provide detailed status updates on a daily basis, including as soon as tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. She's going to give our legal team the opportunity to respond to each one of those.
Kilmar Abrego Garcia was arrested by ICE on March 12th and has not spoken with his family since the 15th. He had a legal status of withholding of removal, but the government put him on one of those 3 flights sent to El Salvador under the Alien Enemies Act. 2 weeks later, ICE admitted he should not have been on the flight. They called it an administrative error. Although the government says it will comply with the Supreme Court's order, what happens if they don't?
If they don't, we'll respond and we'll tell the judge, what relief we think she should order.
So Judge Paula Zini said before she left the bench that she was going to write an order and that she was going to put it into the public file. I've been checking, haven't seen anything just yet. What's unclear is when the government responds as she is directing, it's unclear if that's going to be a public record immediately. And so we're just going to have to keep watching it over the weekend to see what happens here. But there's no direct order for anybody to return to court just yet. That's the latest here from federal court in Greenbelt. Now back into you.
All right, Paul Wagner live for us tonight. Paul, thank you.
Casey, why would you laugh at that? That's insane. That man was here legally. He has a wife who is a U.S. citizen. He has been separated from his family against a court order. The court ordered he not be detained by ICE, and the administration violated that court order. This is literally fascist shit. This is Nazi stuff. I don't understand why anybody would laugh, because if they can do it to Abrego Garcia, they can do it to you. And that's what they want to do. They are testing their limits right now. They want to be able to haul anybody off who speaks their mind. And I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to tell them, send me to Guantanamo, you fucking fascists. I kick authority in the balls around here.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
Everything is virtue signaling with right-wingers. Like the dude saying he was a constitutional conservative, and I proved that wrong. They don't follow the Constitution. That's virtue signaling. When they call themselves patriots, that's virtue signaling. When they say law and order, that's virtue signaling. What they mean is whatever is advantageous to their position. When they rightfully get prosecuted for breaking the laws, they call it lawfare. When they actually use the judicial system extrajudiciously, they'll say you're supporting gang members. It's insane. Attorneys are getting ready to argue for the release of a Tufts University student who was detained. Once again, broke no law, who was here legally.
That's right, Jennifer. This is where Rumeza Ozturk was detained by ICE agents last month, and tomorrow attorneys representing her will argue for her immediate release. They say she should not be in custody while courts decide the legality of her detention. You may remember this video showing 6 ICE agents approaching her, then detaining her in Somerville. The ACLU says Ozturk was driven to Methuen, then Lebanon, New Hampshire.
I mean, this is just plainclothes thugs abducting people off the streets. Is that what you want for America? Anyone in the chat, is that what you want for America?
And then St. Albans, Vermont, before being flown to a detention center in Louisiana. In a statement she describing her detainment, Ozturk says she felt, quote, sure they were going to kill me.
It's heartbreaking as a counselor, as a neighbor, to have watched that video and to see how she was approached and taken off the street in broad daylight.
Quesadilla, Libertad.
Would have thought that she was going to die. She deserves to be back in Somerville. She deserves to finish out her
Dougie, I tell you good evening.
And do the great work that she was doing there.
The Department of Homeland Security says Ozturk was detained after an investigation found she had.
My lord, you're right. You're right.
In support of Hamas.
That's my privilege showing.
Did not provide any evidence in support of that. She did co-author an op-ed in the Tufts student publication expressing support of Palestine. She is among several people with ties to American universities whose visas were revoked or have been stopped from entering the U.S. after publicly expressing support of Palestinians. Ozturk's hearing will be tomorrow morning in Vermont. We're live in Somerville. Danae Bucci, WCVB News Center 5.
You're right. That's an important distinction, my lord. You're absolutely correct on that one. An attorney received a letter saying that she needed to self-deport. She is a legal U.S. citizen. Lenny, good evening.
Hey, Jen, we cover a lot of immigration stories involving both ICE and DHS, but rarely one that involves an attorney, especially one born and raised here in Boston.
I get emails from ICE, I get emails from DHS about different clients.
As a Boston immigration attorney, Nicole Micciaroni gets lots of emails, but this one is different. The first line from Homeland Security says, "It is time for you to leave the United States." You're as American as apple pie.
I am. Yes, I've been here my whole life.
Micciaroni was born at Newton Wellesley Hospital, grew up in Sharon, and educated at Wellesley College.
I think in my case, I'm lucky because I do have a passport. I have a birth certificate. Both show that I am a U.S. citizen, and I am not somebody that needs to leave.
Nicole says she knows other immigration attorneys who received the same email. She has many clients with deportation issues, but they aren't the only ones calling her office.
We've gotten calls from U.S. citizens that are afraid to travel, permanent residents, people on other types of visas. Everybody's just really worried that the immigration crackdown is going to impact them.
If I don't speak up right now, I don't know who will.
Case in point, at Harvard over the weekend, foreign students on campus joined a rally expressing their concerns that Harvard won't defend them if their visas are canceled by the Trump administration.
Harvard won't
get deported tomorrow for being here, or any of our international friends for speaking their mind. We want Harvard to guarantee that we will be able to graduate.
Back at her law office,
they won't.
Nicole Micciaroni keeps looking at the last line in the letter she got from Homeland Security. Do not attempt to remain in the United States. The federal government will find you. Please depart the United States immediately.
There's a lot of people that are perfectly within their rights to stay here and are being told to leave, and a lot of people don't know the difference.
Today we reached out to DHS on why Nicole got that email, and they responded with this statement saying Customs and Border Patrol used the known email address of the alien to send notifications. If a non-personal email, such as an American citizen contact, was provided by the alien, notices may have been sent to intended recipients. As for Nicole, she says she has no plan to contact DHS. Live in Boston, I'm Ted Wayman, WCVB, News Center 5.
Nicole should sue fucking DHS. You're a lawyer. You're like the people we need to depend on right now. Are we going to war with Iran or are we not going to a war with Iran? What do you guys think? 50-50? We're apparently entering into negotiations with Iran currently.
Yang. In Oman today, the United States and Iran appear to have taken the first steps that could lead to a new agreement to limit Iran's nuclear activities and lift U.S. economic sanctions. On social media, the Omani foreign minister who mediated today's indirect talks said they took place in a friendly atmosphere conducive to bridging viewpoints. The White House described the meeting as very positive and constructive. And the Iranian foreign minister said the two sides briefly interacted when their paths crossed at the end of today's session, and that they will meet again next Saturday. Karim Sajidpour is a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He focuses on Iran.
Next Saturday's WrestleMania, though.
Karim.
Hard to get anything done.
Brief encounter, it sounds like in a hallway, agreement to meet again. Is this about as much as one could hope out of this meeting?
The fact that they've agreed on a second meeting, I think, is as much anyone could have hoped for. But our expectations should be realistic. This is not a negotiation.
Real low bar shit right there.
US-Iran rapprochement and Nixon to China moment, normalization of relations. This is really whether the two sides can agree on something which limits Iran's nuclear program. And that's going to be a tall order.
President Trump says he wants a stronger agreement than the one President Obama got. Is that possible?
I think that's going to be very difficult for President Trump because when he pulled out of the deal in 2018, Iran essentially put its foot on the gas. And if you think of getting a nuclear bomb as a 26-mile marathon, Iran is in mile 25 right now. And so the big challenge President Trump is going to have is reversing Iran's program significantly. And if he's not able to do that, he's going to have to answer to two constituencies. One are congressional Republicans, and the other is Israel. And whether those two constituencies will accept Trump signing off on a nuclear deal that was weaker than the Obama deal, which he abrogated.
The Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi talked a little bit about the end of this meeting about another of Mr. Trump's goals. And let's listen to a little bit of that.
Warlord.
The American side also said their aim is to reach an agreement in the shortest possible time. But of course,
are we bombing Iran, Warlord? Yes or no?
From both
sides.
What do you think?
The first agreement took a while to negotiate. Is there a potential pitfall in making speed a priority?
These negotiations are not going to be about the art of the deal. They're going to be about the science of verification. These are not theatrical discussions. These are very technical discussions. And here, there is a huge imbalance between the Iranian side and the American side, in that the Iranian side, you have several Iranian diplomats who have been thinking deeply. And
the Obama nuclear deal with Iran, that's the agreement they're referring to.
Negotiating these issues for 2 decades. And on the U.S. side, you have President Trump's friend, Steve Witkoff, who's been thinking about this for perhaps 2 months. And so it's true that America obviously has far more leverage over Iran than they have, but there's an imbalance in terms of expertise when it comes to the negotiating teams.
Why now? What's motivating each side to come to the table now?
Well, Iran is one of the most sanctioned nations in the world. It's a very deeply unpopular.
The UK couldn't stop us from taking Greenland.
It's been humiliated over the last several months in the region. Israel has taken out several of Iran's proxies, and Israel took out Iran's military air defense systems. So militarily, Iran is very vulnerable.
Fair enough.
On the U.S. side, Trump has always made clear that he's keen on reaching a deal, and the fact that Iran is
Nathan, welcome in.
Towards nuclear weaponization has obviously given him a much greater sense of urgency.
You mentioned the economy, Iran's economy, the sort of the
light one up for Nathan
of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. What else is at stake here?
If you really break this down, you have two countries ruled by very different leaders, right? President Trump likes the theatrics of negotiations and
he's got you there, Flash.
Deals, and actually has been clear about the fact that he wants to resolve U.S.-Iran relations. On the Iranian side, you have Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, arguably the longest-serving dictator in the world at age 85. If he wrote a book, it wouldn't be The Art of the Deal, it's The Art of Resistance. That's something he's prided himself on for 4 decades, is being hostile to the United States. The identity of the Islamic Republic of Iran is contingent on death to America, right? So for him, it's swallowing a lot of pride for his diplomats to sit down directly and negotiate with the United States. And I think there's really an imbalance of expectations here because, as I mentioned, even President Trump's statement today made clear that he wants to see these negotiations lead to a resumption of relations between America and Iran, whereas Ayatollah Khamenei has much more narrow goals, a temporary tactical compromise in order for him to get sanctions relief and avert an Israeli strike on Iran.
You mentioned Israel. They are not at the table. They see a nuclear-powered Iran as an existential threat. They say they want a total elimination of their nuclear program. What role are they going to play even though they're not at the table?
Well, I think Israel obviously has a very close relationship with President Trump. They're going to make their concerns very well known, not only to the White House, but to Congress and the U.S. media. And we've already seen statements from people within the Trump administration, like his National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, saying that the outcome here should be the so-called Libya model, which is a total dismantlement of Iran's program. And so it already appears...
The Libya model, how'd that work out?
There's different views about what the end game should be, and Israel is obviously going to be putting the thumb on the scale for a much more hawkish outcome.
Kareem Sajadpour, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
I knew an Iranian dude who fled Iran in the 80s. Family fled in the 80s because he was like my age or a little bit younger. And he played bluegrass music, and he's a fucking nut job. Like total, at least he was when he deleted me. Total MAGA motherfucker somehow. Very thinks everything is communist. Says he was living under communism in Iran and that's why his family fled. Plays bluegrass music. Decent at bluegrass music, so I don't know. Energy flow. Everything is communism in my dreams. These dreams. Iran never had communism. Thank you. Very anti-Marxist. Iran is a theocracy. I don't know. Last week we watched Jim Cramer actually make sense and wasn't like we had to say like he got something right, didn't we? Let's flip over to Fox News and Kevin O'Leary. This guy also a nut job. Fuzzy Simba, welcome in. Says it's time for a 400% tariff on China.
It was a pretty wild week, ups and downs there on Wall Street. We all watched it happen, but ultimately at the end of the week, stocks closing off higher at the weekend. Does that help my next guest's argument to hit China even harder? O'Leary Ventures Chairman and Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary, a familiar face here with me now. Sir, thanks for giving us a little bit of your time here as we're kicking off Saturday morning. I want to get your thoughts. It was a wild week, and now it seems like there's a lot of negotiating going on with countries around the world, but we're playing pretty tough with China right now. Your thoughts?
Because China is not in the same group as the others. I mean, you can think about a circle of friendship with the EU, England, which is not part of the EU, Switzerland, and all the other countries mentioned, and of course Canada, Mexico. You can see that coming together with some kind of a reciprocal tariff, and I think we're well on the way there. But China's a completely different story. The problem with China is we have some real issues with them since 2000 when they came into the World Trade Organization.
Wait, was he in the wedding planner?
Rules. There are thousands of complaints registered at the WTO, and they've never been adjudicated, never been resolved. Now, when I do business in China, I can't use their court system, and yet they can use ours. They can actually sue me here with knockoff products that they stole the IP from. And so we've got a really imbalanced playing field. It's not a level playing field at all. Even worse than that, I'm just...
Oh my God, we have justice here.
...to be resolved in addition to trade tariffs. Trade tariffs are a sideshow in China. They get to use our capital markets, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ. They list companies that are not compliant with general accounting principles. You don't even get a real share. You get a shadow share, and they don't provide the right financial statements, and they're not compliant. And they're, by the way,
well, if IP is going to eat your ass, make sure you watch it first.
There's a new sheriff in town. Paul Atkins just got approval to run the SEC, and he's going to be a China hawk, I believe. So all of this stuff has to get resolved, and that's why my view is, why don't we just ratchet it up? Why mess around with these 25% of increases? Just go to 400%. Shut down a complete trade with China and start squeezing them until they come to the table.
Yeah, we know that China's a big rule breaker, absolutely, on the global stage, particularly on finances. But at the same time,
I don't even know what they mean, rule breaker.
We're buying a lot of things. A lot of those Chinese goods coming into America. There are businesses that are dependent on that trade to a certain extent, and consumers buy a lot of those goods. So what does that all mean as this continues to play out?
Well, you're 100% right. The largest consumer market on earth, almost 40%, is the United States.
Yeah, I saw somebody mention it, that we ended up with no tariffs on high-cost goods that go to upper and middle-class Americans, and we ended up with tariffs on the really low-cost, like cheap crap that benefits poor Americans. Wonder how that worked out.
America, U.S., 26.1% of world GDP. My point is they can't do without us. If they don't have the ability to sell this stuff you're talking about and make it in the factories and employ millions of people, those people become unemployed. And when you're let's call the Supreme Leader what he is. He can't keep his job. He doesn't have to face any votes.
Sports cards, welcome in.
Can't eat, and they're in the streets rioting. His job's over. Xi knows this. And so it's mutual destruction if it's a long-term situation, but it won't be long-term.
But it's not mutual destruction.
Come to the table, I say to Xi, but it's not just going to be on tariffs. You got to clean up your act with the WTO.
Is it 12%? I thought it was 16%.
Your markets. If you want to play with the big boys.
I was gonna point that out. I'd like 16% of their exports go to the U.S. They're gonna be just fine. If it's less than that, like that's a drop in the bucket. They don't care.
It's got to be reciprocal, and that's what's on the table. That's what I'm advocating for. You know, I want to point
China makes good things for themselves.
Thousands and even millions of businesses over the last 20 years. When you innovate in America and you get an investor and you create something unique and it's a hit product and it hits 5 million in sales, that's the moment it gets knocked off in China, because the Chinese never paid for any of the R&D. They don't have to recoup it. They flood the U.S. market with the knockoff and sometimes wipe out the original American company with the American jobs. There's nothing okay about that. And that's because we don't make them pay for IP theft. There's got to be a consequence. You can't keep doing that. And I'm done with it. And I'm just one of millions of investors who actually like the Chinese people. I want to do business in China. I want to sell there. But enough of this stealing the IP. I want a reciprocal playing field.
I want to get your reaction.
14.7%.
About it, specifically the Chinese embassy in the U.S. They say
War
if the
machine.
United States imposes these higher tariffs, so they're acknowledging this will happen. It would no longer make economic sense and
when he's saying flooding the country, like, isn't he talking about Americans flooding the market with cheap goods, drop shippers and shit like that?
go down as a joke in world economic history. They say that given it's already impossible for the Chinese market to accept U.S. imports at the current tariff level, if the United States imposes further tariffs on Chinese products, China will ignore it. They go on to say that China will take firm countermeasures. They're vowing to fight to the end, if you will. What do you make of that? The Customs
not high enough for this shit.
State Council.
Sounds like a beginning of a negotiation to me. I mean, it's just rhetoric. It's noise, but I can guarantee you right now within the Chinese Communist Party, there's people talking about this. There's, I'm sure, a little bit of dissension. This is not good for China. And when you think about the situation, the Chinese economy is much weaker than the American economy. They had a major real estate correction with billions of dollars of debt at stake, even trillions. They've got problems, and they may have to
light one up, tip one back.
Currency, which is a tax on Europe and the United States. It's not all good over there. And so I think further head squeezing is necessary. And I don't care. But my whole point is, be bombastic. Go to a crazy rate to signal that you're not going to mess around. I like 400. It kind of has a nice ring to it. And then just say, look, we're going to shut down trade, and all those people in your
how about 420%?
Employed, they're probably getting a little
420% tariff.
I think it's time for you to meet the president wherever. They can fly to any city, Riyadh, Geneva, come to Washington, whatever it is. And start these negotiations.
Why was Riyadh the first fucking city he threw out? This motherfucker right here. Oh yeah, Kevin O'Leary is a piece of shit. Why not 1,000%? No, I like 420%. Let's go with that. Social Security. Speaking of Elon, this is probably something he had something to do with. The Social Security Administration is actually listing thousands of living immigrants as dead in order to prompt them to leave. This is AP reporting. Stripping the immigrants of their Social Security numbers will cut them off from many financial services and encourage them to self-deport, officials say. Now, by the way, this is a program. You may say, why do migrants have Social Security cards? This is a program started by the Trump administration in his first term to give people a path to citizenship so they can pay taxes and not receive benefits. But now the second Trump administration is reversing course. The Trump administration has moved to classify more than 6,000 living immigrants as dead, canceling their Social Security numbers and effectively wiping out their ability to work or receive benefits in an effort. They don't receive benefits. In an effort to get them to leave the country, according to two people familiar with the situation. The move will make it much harder for those affected to use banks. Maybe that's what they're talking about when they say benefits. Or other basic services where Social Security numbers are required. It's part of a broader effort by President Donald Trump to crack down on immigrants who were allowed to enter and remain temporarily in the United States under programs instituted by his predecessor, Joe Biden. Not true. It's Trump. The Trump administration is moving the immigrants' names and legally obtained Social Security numbers to a database that federal officials normally use to track the deceased, according to two people familiar with the moves and their ramifications. They spoke on condition of anonymity. Officials said stripping the immigrants of their Social Security numbers will cut them off from many financial services and encourage them to self-deport and abandon the U.S. for their birth countries. It wasn't immediately clear how the 6,000 plus immigrants were chosen, but the Trump White House has targeted people in the country temporarily under Biden-era programs, including more than 900,000 immigrants who entered the U.S. using that administration's CBP-1 app. It's going to be hard because it's all going to be stories from this year. Let me do a custom range here. Sweet 16, boom. Energy Flow, thank you for the resub. Bound, welcome in. I can't find it. I'll get that info and bring it back to you tomorrow. And a story that really affects me because, you know, this is the area where I'm from. These are my friends and family. Trump is denying a FEMA aid extension in the state of North Carolina where he won it 3 times. Here is Trump claiming Biden's response to Hurricane Helene has been terrible. This is back in the fall.
I'm involved. I told the governor if I'm involved, they're going to get the best treatment. They're going to get treatment like we did in the past. We had a big, the farmers got hit very hard, and I guess they got hit just as hard, or maybe, is this worse or is this of equal?
Probably worse.
Probably worse. That was a bad one. But we worked 2 or 3 times together in big storms, but I don't think we've seen anything like this. But we got it taken care of in record time, and we will be very open and very committed to this state because it's a great state and you have great leadership, and the governor, again, is doing a fantastic job. And a terrible response from the White House. They're missing $1 billion that was used for another purpose, and nobody's seen anything like that. No, from that standpoint, it's been terrible. We have a big election.
Democratic Governor Josh Stein announced on Friday that the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has denied North Carolina's request to extend the full reimbursement period for Hurricane Helene recovery efforts. In the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which struck in September of 2024, then presidential candidate Donald Trump voiced sharp criticism of FEMA's response in the swing state of North Carolina, accusing the agency of being too slow to release recovery funds and failing to coordinate. Why did I say it like that? Coordinate effectively with state officials. Trump repeatedly claimed that the federal bureaucracy was delaying critical aid, saying in one press briefing, the people of North Carolina deserve faster, better action. FEMA needs to cut the red tape and get the job done. He also suggested that political bias might be influencing the pace of assistance. Swaths of the Southeast were devastated in late September by Hurricane Helene. Helene was the deadliest hurricane to strike mainland U.S. since Katrina in 2005. Helene caused widespread devastation across North Carolina, resulting in an estimated $8.4 billion in total damages. The storm brought torrential rainfall, historic flooding, and destructive winds that damaged thousands of homes, overwhelmed local infrastructure, and left large portions of the state without power for days. Key industries, including agriculture and manufacturing, suffered severe losses, and dozens of counties were declared federal disaster areas. The storm put immense pressure on both state and federal resources. North Carolina officials continue to call for extended financial support, particularly for rural areas where rebuilding has been slow. I can tell you it's been slow. Stein posted on Twitter that he learned that FEMA refused our request to extend its 100% reimbursement period for another 180 days. I got this news while I was in Newland with families who lost their homes in the storm. The need in western North Carolina remains immense. People need debris removed, homes rebuilt, and roads restored, and I am extremely disappointed and urge the president to reconsider FEMA's bad decision, even for 90 days. 6 months later, the people of western North Carolina are working hard to get back on their feet. They need FEMA to help them get the job done. President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem have publicly discussed plans to eliminate FEMA, citing concerns over inefficiency and bureaucracy. During a cabinet meeting in March, Noem stated, "We're going to eliminate FEMA," signaling a significant shift in federal disaster management policy. Newsweek reached out for comment from the White House and FEMA. Apparently did not get one. But it's not just Musk and the Republicans. Bernie, as always, is correct. Oligarchy permeates the Democratic Party as well.
But it's not just Musk and Republicans. It's the Democratic Party as well. Their billionaires tell candidates, don't stand up to the powerful special interest. And too many Democrats are listening to them. And that is why if we want to preserve democracy in America, we've got to overturn this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision.
The man's running for president live on Twitch right now.
Of elections. In America, one person, one vote, not billionaires buying elections. And let me tell you something about the oligarchs. They are very, very religious people. But their religion is not based on doing unto others as you would have them do unto you. Their religion is not based on love or justice. Their religion is based on greed, greed, and more greed. All over this country, in Vermont, California, all over this country, we have a serious problem with drug addiction, with alcoholism, with other forms of addiction. But in my honest opinion, the most serious addiction crisis we face is the addiction of the oligarchy toward greed. They got billions and billions of dollars. It's not enough. They need more. And if they have to step on the poor and the disabled and working class people, that is what they will do unless we stop them, and we will stop them.
He's running for president. You saw the haircut at the CNN Town Hall. CNN Town Hall, live on Twitch right now. Rally, that was yesterday. Largest rally he's ever had, yesterday. In a non-election year. He eclipsed his largest rallies from 2016 and 2020. Good evening, Michael. I'm just telling you, I'm a political guy. I would have never in a million years thought it was happening, but it's happening. Those are the moves of a man who's going to run for president. I've heard people say like, oh, well, he's grooming AOC to take the reins. AOC is going to run for Senate. There's nobody else that's there. That's how Bernie's looking at it right now. Like, there's nobody else that can do this but me. This country has to fucking do something. I'm not really a betting man. You know, I'm not supposed to have hair right now, you know, DJ Dub. A recovery effort has begun in Weld County, Colorado, following a well leak for like over a week.
Tonight, recovery efforts are happening right now in Gailton, nearly a week after an oil and gas incident there. Crews are out this weekend cleaning and monitoring the air, water, and soil in and around the Chevron site northeast of Greeley to make sure it's safe for community members.
Greeley, Colorado. I've heard of Greeley.
Start and checks in on the progress tonight.
On Charles Collins' farm, everyone helps with the chores.
So we have beans coming up, we have corn coming up.
Collins says small-town Gailton has been a lot busier this week after a Chevron well a half-mile from his home started spewing a mixture of water, oil, and gas Sunday.
I came tottering out barefooted and took a picture down there. It looked like some kind of really wild scene.
Crews contained the so-called Gailton geyser Thursday afternoon. And since then, the county has been monitoring the air, water, and soil, with more than 300 people staging at Gailton Fire Saturday.
This is a little beehive of activity of a lot of people who are coming in, get their assignments.
That's one way to describe it.
Elementary has been closed all week because of the well incident, and this is just one location where cleanup crews are staged, working on recovery efforts this weekend.
Everyone's got safety for the residents top of mind.
Jennifer Finch with Weld County says so far testing is showing no cause for concern, but evacuation orders are still in place.
That may be a slightly different timeline for each property, depending on what the impacts are.
As for Collins, he's not too worried about the potential for contaminated soil.
Yeah, I'm upwind and not downwind of where it was coming out.
While Chevron investigates what caused the well to release in the
Well, bright side, I guess.
Collins is feeling lucky. He'll likely fare better than his other farmer friends.
I walked through the hayfield, his hayfield. The alfalfa is about that tall, and you could reach down and see or rub your hand through, and there was a little oily residue on that. I don't know if they can cut that and bale it, or if they're going to have to sacrifice that first cutting.
In Gailton, Claire Lavazorio, Denver 7.
Ew.
And you can find Claire's reporting right now on Denver7.com, including a timeline of that incident and the evacuation map.
So I guess they're going to open up the elementary school that's next to it tomorrow. It said it was going to remain closed until the 14th. It's America and it's a day that ends in Y, so you know what it is, right? A shooting outside of a Club Foods in Minneapolis left at least 3 people hurt. This was earlier today.
News at 5. Thanks for joining us here at 5 on Fox 9 Plus and Fox Local. I'm Randy Meyer.
And I'm Kelsey Carlson. We're closely watching a story out of South Minneapolis tonight. A Cub Foods grocery store closed after a shooting in the parking lot. Fox 9's Leon Purvis is live outside the store tonight with the very latest on what we know about what happened. Leon?
Kelsey, Randy, this is the Cub Foods off of East Lake Street.
What's a Cub Foods?
Back up in about an hour, but it's been closed for about 3 hours. We don't know a lot about what led up to the shooting right now, but here is what we can tell you. The shooting took place here in the parking lot. 3 adult men have non-life-threatening injuries. 2 went to the hospital. 1 refused medical attention. We still don't know if anyone is in custody. Police quickly turned this entire area into a crime scene, taping off a big area around the store. We talked to a woman.
Police do indeed tend to turn things into a crime scene.
Who took a call from her mother, who was working inside the store when it happened.
My mom called me when I was literally on the way here. They literally called me talking about, Shania, do not come here. Somebody got shot.
Now we're working to find out more information as Minneapolis police could release it at any time. We're live in South Minneapolis tonight. Leon Purvis, Fox 9.
All right, Leon, thank you. New here at 5, a Moorhead man is dead after a morning shooting there. It all happened around 9:30. According to Moorhead police, officers responded to gunshots on 14th Street, and that's where they found the victim. Life-saving measures by officers failed. A suspect was seen leaving this area in a newer light green Chevy SUV. That person is considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached.
Well, it is Nerf War season again, and the
Nerf War
recovering after a very close call.
What?
Police say a 16-year-old was run over by a car while playing this game. Thankfully, that teen survived. But here's how police say.
Well, at least the Nerf gun didn't hurt him.
From Rice was hiding on the ground next to a vehicle that had arrived there. While lying on the ground, a friend accidentally ran over him. The 16-year-old treated at the scene by people passing by and then later made it to St. Cloud Hospital. Now, he did not suffer any serious injuries, but is staying at the hospital for observation.
It's a mass shooting if 3 people were shot. Which I don't know if they were shot. They were just injured in the shooting. I mean, if you want a shooting, I've got that for you. I am stunned by the Cub Foods. I've never heard of a Cub Foods because I thought up in Minneapolis their favorite grocery store was called Minotaur. Here in Appalachia, we are big fans of Wilson Titley. Clinically down there in the Gulf Toast goes to that Great Flamingo. You love Great Flamingo, don't you? Bimvox, good evening. DJ Dub up there in the mid-up. Never heard. I don't know how you can never hear of Minotaur when that is America's favorite grocery stores by region. Minotaur is the favorite grocery store of the mid-up region. Over in the Great Plains, they love Chucky Friend. I ain't never seen a goddamn turtle beast my entire life. Down in Spicy Town, they love a Corb Torson's. Man, so after Sparkles and I did this bit, I set my Facebook, like I was the regional manager of Wilson Titley, and I had to create like our Wilson Titley page. So like, so I set myself as the regional manager of Wilson Titley. And people tried to report me to Wilson Titley for the shit I said. I love, in the Plains, they love a food mommy. So Sparkle sends this to me, and I'm like, that's not funny. And she's like, go read the comments. I order from Kroger's like 3 times a week holiday. So I go and read the comments, and she was right. They were fucking hilarious. Because no one understood that Kroger was the only real one on there. So people are just like having knockout, drag out fights about whether Turtle Bees is real or not. So like I had to agree with her. Okay, the meme is funny, and it's now like 7 years later, and I'm still fucking bringing up this meme. I'm going to take a commercial break real fast. When we come back, we're going to do like the really shitty news. I don't have much of it tonight, but this one is going to really piss you off. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
All we're establishing is this guy's wicked sick aesthetic.
Not high enough for this shit.
I guess I gotta thank Matt Walsh for introducing me to JustinFREAKIN.
Hey there, y'all. We're about to get stupid, locked into what that news beat doing. Fu Manchu and a slick bandana, colder than ice, smoother than Santana. Audio, video, chat and calls. Right-wing nut jobs haunt the halls. What you wanna watch? Hey, what you think? And there's only one choice. It's JustinFREAKIN.
The guy's, he's a formidable voice in the call.
Light one up and tip one back. It's a right to be high. Let's grab a snack. It's fucking news, quit panic, attack, and play your cards right and get a titty slap. Jump in Discords, have some fun. The man will talk to everyone. Get high and try to debate. When shit pops off, chat thinks it's great. What do you think you're doing? Join the troll patrol. Wherever discourse is brewing, he gives it that southern drawl.
So let's go ahead
ahead and bring in Justin. Hey, Justin, how's it going, brother?
First of all, I want to say you're poser South. I'm in Alabama. I'm the real South.
Okay, all right. So why don't you tell us what it takes to be a man?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Alabama and I'll fuck a man in a dress. Why won't you fuck a man in a dress? Are you that insecure that you won't fuck a man in a dress?
That's fantastic. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?
Right-wingers are morons.
Like one it and hit one back on one more clip where we hit the set an alert when that shit goes live. Social fucking support and hit subscribe. Light one up and take a hit. He does no harm, but it takes no shit. He's the last one standing when the ship is sinking. Let's take another rip for JustinFREAKIN.
Light one up, tip one back. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
Not high enough for this shit.
Well, you see, Bound, you are more likely to shoot yourself, a loved one, or have the gun used against you in the commission of a crime than you are to stop a crime. Statistics are fun. Crime is at historically low levels. Not only that, just owning a gun makes you more of an asshole. People that had guns just in their car were like 25% more likely to exhibit road rage. It's insane. No. What I do is I put like all kinds of gun nut paraphernalia shit that makes it look like I'm some right-wing nut job. Don't actually own a gun. It's mind over matter. Make people think you have a gun. Yeah, that's what I always hear, that, responsible gun owners. The majority of people are fucking stupid. The majority of people are fucking stupid. And have no business owning a gun, so responsible gun owners, my ass. I guess they're responsible until the moment they're not. Just like we saw the dude get out of his truck with the protesters the other day. He got headbutted, goes right to his fucking truck, grabs a gun, is not exhibiting any amount of caution or proper gun safety. Has no business owning that, what was an AK? AR, whatever the fuck it was. M9, I don't know what the fuck it was, but it was some sort of rifle. And he was just waving it the fuck around, pointing it at old ladies and shit on the street, because he was a dumbass. And most people are dumbasses and have no business owning guns. Oh, my bad, Flash. You look like a rival. But I guess that was just the extender on it. Don't forget, we are 1 week away from 420. I keep forgetting about it because there's so much shit going on. It's usually just 420, my anniversary show, and there's nothing else going on. But I've got my best friend coming down. I'm going to have company all weekend. It's my 5th anniversary show. It's Easter. It's 420. We're going to be coming on at noon on Sunday. So no Troll Patrol at this time a week from now. We'll be coming on at noon, celebrating 420 across the country. I'm going to stick around with you until WrestleMania comes on. My best friend's going to be here. He'll probably pop on stream some. It's going to be wild. We'll play it by ear. Black Ops 2 thing? What are you talking about? I'm not really a first-person shooter. What's up, Open? Welcome in, my friend. If you don't like the more graphic stories that we do here on the show, and if police killing pisses you off, you might not want to stick around for this. We watched this video. Video was released by a neighbor of the incident. We saw it maybe a week. God damn it. Thank you, T-Minus. Fucking fuck. Always doing it to me when like I really want to cuss too. We watched the video. It was a young man was behind a chain link fence. The cops just pull right up and shoot him within 30 seconds, 40 seconds. I pointed out on stream how quick it was that they pulled up and shot him. We now have details. The kid was 17 years old, autistic, has now died after being removed from life support.
Tragic end for an Idaho teenager with autism shot by police about a week ago. Victor Perez died after being removed from life support. The 17-year-old was wielding a knife when he was shot 9 times by police. Family now seeking justice. Joining me now with more on this is ABC News contributor and former FBI agent Brad Garrett. Brad, good to see you. Thanks for coming in on a Sunday to talk about this. How does the police investigation into this shooting change, if it changes at all, now that the teen has unfortunately died after being taken off life support?
So you have to go back to the beginning of a shooting, which basically is what precipitated the officers to justify using deadly force. And we don't know that at this point.
I do. They're just shitheads that rolled up on a kid that was laying on the ground with a knife. They were on the other side of a fence. The kid posed no danger to them whatsoever. And within flash, am I wrong on this? It was 30, 40 seconds tops that they run up to that fence and they begin shooting. It's insane.
We just know that they shot this child multiple times and he ultimately died. So it's all going to go to what's the justification. There's some reporting about a weapon, maybe a knife. In what context is that? What is that? In other words, is he waving the knife? Does he actually run toward one of the officers? They probably don't know the mental state of him. I would be willing to guess. Obviously, officers are trained to protect themselves if somebody comes at them with something that's deadly, a weapon, a knife, whatever it might be. But there's a whole thing, Phil, called shooting review teams, and they'll basically start at the beginning. What was the initial information? Why did they go to the house? Why did they end up in a location that might have been the backyard, if I recall?
Oh, so they're showing it over here. I'm sorry, I was trying to find the video.
And what was they'll basically start at the beginning. What was the initial information? Why did they go to the house? Why did they end up in a location that might have been the backyard, if I recall, of this house with the person who was shot? And it's like a TikTok. You're going to have to walk through every element of that.
Yeah, and the video that we're showing right now, there'll obviously be a big part of that investigation. There was a lot going on in this video. You see the 4 officers there with their guns drawn. Brad,
nobody is in danger other than the kid.
Family, Victor Perez's family, says that the officers should have tried to de-escalate the situation before firing those shots. Can you talk to us a little bit about how officers are trained to de-escalate situations like this one?
So the key is obviously getting people to connect with you. Now you're in a crisis situation, Phil, where you have somebody that's distraught.
Tones, this was Idaho.
And if he has a weapon like a knife, you try to talk him through in a very direct but non-agitated voice. We're the police, we're here to help you, we just need to talk to you, would you put the knife down? It's much like in dealing in a hostage negotiation situation where you try to de-escalate the language to begin with. You also have to be cognizant of your own body language. You know, where are you in proximity of this child? And then go from there. Of course, the problem here is if you're communicating with somebody that is autistic, it changes the reality. Again, these officers aren't trained to diagnose people. And so the reactions, obviously, of this child to some other person in the same situation may be different and may be construed as, threatening. And maybe it was. We have no idea at this point. But you have to make decisions quickly sometimes, Phil, is the problem. And if he comes at them with a knife and they told him not to move forward.
Why wouldn't they have non-lethal rounds? It's a kid with autism.
Forward, and he keeps coming, then that may be one of their justifications in shooting him. Obviously, they can't stand there and get stabbed. So all of
just move back. They're behind a fence.
But there's a big issue, Phil, in the law enforcement community in dealing with people who have.
Yep, you're right, Fuzzy Simba.
Because they confront them all the time on the street.
And let's not even go into the fact that a person without any sort of impairment can't understand what the fuck cops are yelling most of the time, because usually they're yelling conflicting orders. We've seen it so many times here on this show that multiple cops will conflict with each other. One's telling you to get up, one's telling you to get down, one's telling you to put your hands behind your back. They're all yelling at you, and I can't imagine what that would be like for somebody who has some sort of impairment.
And we'll see what they knew before the shooting started.
Yeah, I've done a couple stories with specific departments that actually have mental health experts go out onto calls with officers, and that seemed to help in some of the places where I've done those stories. Brad Garrett, thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And they operated with impunity because they didn't expect a neighbor to be videotaping. The Curiouser and I went to the weed store the other day. We pulled up to the gas station to use the ATM, and there were like 4 or 5 cop cars in the parking lot. And I was like, I'll go in there and tell them to suck my balls. And she's like, no, we don't have time for that right now. And I was like, well, yeah, I would tell them to suck my balls. But I go in, and they had a dude detained, a black kid. And I almost felt like I should whip my phone out and just start recording him, or tell him to suck my balls, take attention off of him. But also, Curiouser was waiting on me. We were kind of in a hurry, so. I'm a horrible person, and I've laughed at this story and been like, well, what was he doing in South Africa? But it kind of sucks that a dude was kidnapped in South Africa, probably held for ransom, but I'm not exactly sure. Am I Hitler? Not that I know of, my friend. Parasocial king. Tones, whip my bone out? Yeah, and tell the cops to suck it? I could. Tier 2, welcome in, my friend.
He's kicking authority in the balls.
What do you want to ask? Am I high enough for this? Moderation is the key. I'm not the bird, if you're looking to get into NA or get off the smack or something, I'm not the person for that. I'm the kind of person that tells the kids to shoot the drugs. If you need something harder, try fentanyl. I totally have a porn addiction. That ain't nothing to laugh about. Well, you've come to the wrong stream.
A titty slap! What the? Come on now.
Not me. I'm telling you I have a porn addiction. That's why I want to go find OnlyFans creator or something to work for, and like just start making porn and making money off of it. I'm sorry, don't jack off so much. What do you want from me? It's hard. There's so much good porn out there. There's so many hot people to look at. There's so many people to fantasize about. Fucking play baseball. God damn it. I got right to the 10-second mark. Fucking fuck. Fuck. Fuck, 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 fuck. That's one way to look at it. You think I can't be a high-functioning addict? And I'm not very high-functioning either. Are you bleeding? Are you bleeding from your cock? Correction, it's not that hard at first. I mean, if you're not jacking it so much that your cock is bleeding, then you're not jacking too much. Keep on keeping on, my friend. What's your favorite kind of porn? Brother, I used to fucking snort some meth and then look at porn for fucking 2 days straight. With my girlfriend. They should probably make fun of you. You sound like a little dumbass. Just throw that out there. Ah, fuck. I did it again. Line one up, tip one back. It's probably not the watching porn or they're making fun of you for. It's probably because your ass stinks.
Life is too short to walk this earth for a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
I asked, what kind of porn do you like? I like gangbang porn. I like strangers. I like strangers getting barebacked. That's like my favorite thing. So I watch a lot of like seedy porn theaters and glory holes and shit like that. Ah, God damn it. There's this old lady named Cream Pie Kathy. I like her. She always gets these hot girls, brings them in. Liddy, I loved your stream. I loved hanging out with you. War Machine, welcome in. There's shit, what's her name? She was like one of the original, Kathy's awesome. She did a lot of gangbangs, and she's from Canada. She's like one of the originals from the 90s. She invited me to come up to her house. She's like, come by and see me sometime, honey. We'll do an orgy together. I'm like, yeah, I like to watch homemade stuff too. That's my problem is the OnlyFans. Like, I'm so into the amateur shit, like I'll see like, ooh, you're really cute. I ought to subscribe to your OnlyFans. Now I'm spending money on something that's widely available. Old people with daughter stuff. That's a little weird sometimes, but age play can be all right. I like young girls with old women. You totally came in the wrong chat. Like I will encourage your worst habits. I had a friend, like me and a buddy were talking about porn one time, and he asked me what kind I like. I was like, I like casting porn. He's like, that's the most exploitative. I'm like, I know, it's horrible. But let's be fair, like the casting porn, most of them are already pros, and they come in and they act like they've never taken their clothes off before. Why would you wish there's no porn in the world? Because you're a fucking weak-ass motherfucker? You want to ruin it for the rest of us because you're weak? Jesus. Moderation. Moderation, my friend. Anything in moderation is fine. Drugs in moderation. Alcohol in moderation. Food in moderation. Everything in moderation. It is not drugs or alcohol or getting addicted to this, that, or the other thing that's the problem. It's totally easy to say because I'm an addict. Been there, done that, my friend. And moderation is the key. You don't quit something cold turkey. You only allow yourself. I had an addiction to pain pills. You know what I do now? If someone offers me a pain pill, I'll do it. But I won't pay any money for them. Unless it's my birthday. If it's my birthday. Certain special occasions, I'll be like, all right, yeah, you can give me a couple. That's how you do it. So you limit your porn intake to where, like, oh, I've got to accomplish X, Y, Z, and then I can bust a nut to some porn. That's how you do it. Moderation. Give yourself goals. And I know you're just like a stupid troll, but this is good advice for people that might actually be suffering from this. There is no God. There's only you. If you can't help yourself, then you're the fucking problem. God damn it. You're not suffering. If you're busting a nut, you're not suffering. Minty, good evening. Sometimes twice. I don't even remember what the next story is. It's probably something serious. So let's just go ahead and jump into it.
Breaking news.
We begin today with breaking news. An East Tennessee missionary has been kidnapped.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Servicing in South Africa while serving there. The victim is 35-year-old Joshua Sullivan. Police say he was preaching a sermon at the Fellowship Baptist.
Porn and carpal tunnel go hand in hand. Good one, Lenny.
Church in Motherwell Township last night. Masked men with guns broke into the church, stealing 2 cell phones from the congregation and driving away with Pastor Sullivan in his own truck. Pastor Sullivan's home church is Fellowship Baptist Church in Maryville. He moved his family to South Africa more than 6 years ago to run Motherwell Church. We're reaching out now to people who know and love the Sullivans. Here is Pastor Sullivan's father-in-law.
What happened last night is a total something that you know that it can't.
White dude in South Africa got abducted probably by a roving gang.
Happen, but until it does happen, then it comes close to home. So we're just asking everybody that they would pray for Josh. During this time, nothing has been resolved.
And now friends and family, of course, you can imagine anxiously waiting for more reports regarding Sullivan's return, and they are all asking.
Gotta preach the word.
It's been following this situation. Evan, where do we stand? Any update in the case?
Well, Brittany, currently the FBI, local police in South Africa, and the U.S. Embassy all working this situation. Authorities say the kidnappers are in touch with South African church members. We're told Sullivan's voice was heard on the phone as proof of life. Kidnappers are asking for a ransom, but we have no other details on how much that may be. Coming up at 4, I can tell you more on what family and friends say about Josh Sullivan.
Yes, of course, we'll follow this story to the end. Evan, thank you very much. And you'll want to download the WVLT News app to stay on top of this breaking news in the case, especially when we're not.
VLT?
This is the fastest way that you can get that information, but we will be following this story very closely as it develops.
Oh, VLT. I'm kind of hungry. That's why I heard BLT. Curiouser had said she may come over, and I was like, give me some food if you do. Man, I miss Pornhub. I haven't been able to get on it in months. Now we're going to Nebraska, where 2 high school students are in some hot water after apparently being photographed with a Nazi flag.
2 high school students from a central Nebraska school district were seen posting on social media with a symbol of hate. Local 4's Jartavius Edmonds spoke with the
Republicans took my porn and don't even live in a red state anymore. I live in a blue state now. Why can't I have porn?
School district superintendent, and he joins us now with more from our Grand Island newsroom. Jartavius?
Casey, the students posted a photo of themselves posing with a Nazi flag on Instagram in the Aurora High School locker room, which later spread it across multiple social media outlets. Aurora Public Schools say they were notified about the photo late Thursday evening. The school says they then called law enforcement, who investigated the incident for any laws that may have been broken. The school district acknowledges this photo is extremely inappropriate and unacceptable. Aurora Superintendent of Schools says whenever a situation occurs on school grounds, the building's administration is notified and they begin their normal process.
I look to see if there's anything as far as code of conduct, board policy is.
I don't look at porn on my computer. Computer's too valuable to get any kind of malware on it or anything. So yeah, I go to Pornhub on my phone. I can't do it.
Is related to that situation or what it might be, and then from there they would issue consequences and student discipline as appropriate, as outlined in the code of conduct.
Superintendent Phillips says they have identified the students who posed in the photo, and they're investigating others who might be involved with the incident, which includes students who took the photo when the incident occurred. Superintendent Phillips says the school does not condone the photo portraying a Nazi flag. He said it sheds a negative light on the school district, and community, which will not be tolerated.
No shit.
Back to you in Hastings.
Man, watching that Nebraska news station, that was like kind of amateur hour on the reporter there. He's like fresh out of college. What a baby face. See, the Republicans did it to you. I don't know why it happened to me. The GOP is taking people's porn. You would think that would have caused a revolt in the election. Florida teacher loses their job for calling a student by the pronouns they preferred to use because the parents weren't informed. This is one of those Ron DeSantis bullshits.
Petition thousands are signing to try and help a teacher get her job back. The school district says Melissa Calhoun called a student by their preferred name, not their birth name. Now, it might sound innocent, but state law says for a teacher to call a student by their preferred name, their parents have to give written permission.
In this case, Brevard Public Schools says that never happened.
Insane.
James Barbero with What's Next.
The teacher made a difference in her classroom and in the lives of our students, including my own child. She deserved more than a quiet exit. She deserved fairness, context, and compassion.
You can tell whose side the audience was on at last night's school board meeting. The speaker, Christine Stanek, works here at Satellite High School alongside Melissa Calhoun, at least for a couple more weeks. Brevard Public Schools isn't renewing Calhoun's contract because the district says Miss Calhoun, who teaches AP Literature, called a student by their preferred name, not their legal name.
Oh, wow.
Parental consent. The district says Miss Calhoun knew she wasn't allowed to do that, but did so anyway.
There was no harm, no threat to safety, no malicious intent, just a teacher trying to connect with a student.
Now a lot of Miss Calhoun's former students are trying to help her through this change.org petition.
More than 5,000 supporters are calling for the district to give Miss Calhoun her job back. She is irreplaceable. Not only a good teacher, but significantly, more importantly, she is the kindest and most caring person I have ever met in my life. A statement I got from the district says the students' parents came forward about this.
Isn't that embarrassing, Holiday?
Started.
I did that once in like
EPS
second
supports
grade,
parents'
first grade or
rights
something.
to be the primary decision makers in their children's lives, and Florida law affirms their right to be informed. The district also told me the state will now be reviewing Calhoun's teaching certificate. Her contract ends in May. In Satellite Beach, Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero, News 6.
Hell yeah, go sign that petition. Let's get to break 50 grand here soon. We'll do our part. City of Boise, Idaho, refusing to back down. The state telling it to remove its pride flags. Go Boise.
On the opposite of that, standing up for what you believe in seems to be gathering some steam lately, from sixth grade teachers to city mayors. Days after deciding Boise was going to keep its current city flag, Mayor Lauren McLean is taking another stand on a standard. For years, there's been a pride flag flying outside Boise City Hall, something that seemed to be kind of a thorn in the side of many lawmakers working inside the State House just 2 blocks away, at least to those who live outside of Boise. So this past legislative session, they decided to do something about it. They passed a flag ban, not just for what can be
a flag ban,
any and all Idaho public buildings and property. But for Boise, well, their attitude and their approach so far is, that's nice. The bill to limit what flags can be flown on government property began back in February.
I believe this bill is necessary for government to be neutral and unified. Government buildings should represent all Idahoans and not be used for political or social movements.
House Bill 96 was supposed to stop any state, county, city, or...
The rainbow flag is a rainbow because it represents inclusion. It's for everybody.
School from flying any flag not listed here. From the U.S. flag to the state flag to the official school flag.
And without clear guidance, some government entities may display flags that promote specific causes or ideologies or political viewpoints. This bill will prevent that.
Yet it hasn't, and that hasn't gone unnoticed. Even Representative Heather Scott, the sponsor of House Bill 96, pointed out the law went into effect immediately with the governor's signature, saying someone may want to let the city of Boise know. Well, several have, and that didn't seem to matter. According to the mayor's office, that pride flag outside City Hall will continue to fly. Maybe because the law's guidance may be clear, but the enforcement of it is not. No part of the law lays out what happens if a city doesn't follow it. And we asked the governor's office, the attorney general's office, the Ada County Sheriff, and Boise PD. Nobody had an answer, but Representative Scott had one. In a text message, she told us, most government employees shouldn't be actively breaking the law, even if they don't agree with it, especially elected officials. As for who is supposed to enforce it, she said, they should self-enforce. We can always look at adding a penalty for bad actors if we need to.
Wow.
It seems Boise is sticking by their standards. Well, during debate,
Go Boise.
It was mentioned how it was oddly focused on just one Idaho city because the only examples they showed of someone flying a flag not on that list were pictures of pride flags flown in Boise. But we were surprised to find, after reviewing all the committee hearings and chamber debates, nobody seemed to mention the bill's lack of enforcement. And to clarify what I said about nobody having an answer about that enforcement, the governor's office referred us to either the Ada County Sheriff's Office or Boise PD, and ACSO told us today this is the first they're hearing of this law. But since City Hall is on Boise City property, enforcement is up to Boise Police, and we have yet to hear back from BPD, nor have we heard back from the Attorney General's office. So no enforcement mechanism in the law, but it did have an emergency clause, meaning it went into effect with Governor Little's signature instead of the usual July
emergency clause
date. You may be wondering why that is. Could it have anything to do with the fact Pride Month happens in June? Maybe. Oh, by the way, the city of Bonners Ferry is considered a border town, and this was brought up during debate. For years, they have flown a Canadian flag outside City Hall to welcome our neighbors from the north when they visit Idaho. Well, we called today, and that flag still flies outside Bonners Ferry City Hall. Official flags of other countries are allowed under this law, but as the law says, that's only to commemorate special occasions. So I wonder what's so special about a flag flying 24/7. Has anybody called for the removal of that flag? I guess we'll just have to wait and see with that one.
I like whoever this news organization is. They do a fantastic job. KTVB. I guess they're out of Boise. They could possibly be a neighboring state or something. Idaho's news channel. Yep, Boise, Idaho. They do a fantastic job. We've watched several of their stories in the last 2 or 3 weeks. Because we had, was it that woman that got taken out of the town hall? That was in Idaho. Yeah, so we've watched a few of their clips here lately. And they do a fantastic job. I'm going to hit the content warning for the next few stories because you might get some transphobia in them. Oh, I know you'll get some transphobia in them. I highlighted last week a fencer and disc golfer, pool player. This is Taylor Starling. She went and appeared in front of California lawmakers last week. This was a committee hearing on education equity at the California State Assembly.
Good morning, members of the committee. My name is Taylor Starling. I'm 16 years old and I attend Martin Luther King High School. I have a 4.0 GPA, serve as vice president of my junior class, and volunteer with National Women's Charity League, and lead as captain of my school's cross-country and track and field teams. I was removed from my varsity girls team and replaced by a newly eligible male transfer student who received favorable treatment. I worked every day during summer with my team and into the school year 6 days a week, waking up at 5 a.m. to attend morning practices and staying at school until 4:45 each day. My goal was to attain a varsity spot on my school's Division I CIF team. Not an easy feat, but one I accomplished. Since the start of the season in August, I ran in every varsity race. In late October, the male transfer student was given my spot after not being held to the same strict team requirements as me and the rest of the girls. He did not have to attend practice while my team and I were running 7 miles a day together. After having my spot taken away from me that I earned, I missed out on running with my varsity team in one of the top cross-country invitationals of the season. As a result of this unfair treatment, my teammate Caitlin and I wore shirts that said Save Girls Sports and stated that boys and girls are different. It's common sense. XX does not equal XY. This is not hateful or unkind. This is reality. However, our athletic director made me remove my shirt and...
Yeah, the shirt, which also is not biologically sound. There are numerous chromosomal disorders. I've heard that geneticists in school don't have students test their own chromosomes because they're worried of what they might find out, because chromosomal disorders are far more common than people realize.
And told me it was like wearing a swastika in front of a...
Yeah, it kind of is.
And said that I would face disciplinary action if I wore it again. My Title IX and free speech rights as a female matter too. Why are girls being told that we must sit down and be quiet while boys unfairly get ahead of us in life? Why do boys not have to attend practice and make the sacrifices that us girls make in order to be scholar athletes? Just because those boys believe they are transgender. Girls matter too. Please protect us. Thank you.
Would you believe it if I told you, like, that was her testifying in front of the California State Assembly last week, April 2nd? Would you believe me if I told you she went on Fox News?
Like, pretty crazy, but it's just cool to see everyone wearing shirts. And there's been more people like wanting the shirts and stuff. So that's like really cool to see that so many people are wanting to stand up for girls and support everyone. It was very sad to see that our Democratic leadership in California was unable to stand up for us girls and the rights that we deserve.
Taylor's actually, her sister Abby is actually running track as well. So Taylor's a triplet, so she has her sister running track. And the one male individual that displaced her during the cross country season, my other daughter Abby actually had to compete against him in the 200 already and was beat by him in the 200. But a lot now with Twitter and it becoming more viral, especially with Taylor speaking at the state capitol, it has gone where there's 3 million views on like 3 different videos of her speaking and basically standing up for women's rights.
No, this is exactly what you wanted.
You have 99.
You want to be a grifter.
And then you get that one comment that has called her a bigot, has called her the C word.
Yeah, I think that 1D transer that they like promote on Twitter, I don't know that they were ever trans. I don't know what they are right now. I know they get bullied a lot on Twitter though.
Has called all kinds of names, and it's, you know, when those voices and they're just insulting, you know you're winning the fight. And that's the way we continue to look at it, is if that's all you have to do is insult us and call us names instead of making an educated argument.
Yeah, the bow tie one. I don't know that they were ever trans, and I know that the trans community totally fucking dunks on them. I don't even know what they identify as now. I have no idea. They're clearly androgynous or gender fluid or something. Because no idea. That's why I'm calling them a them. Because, I mean, it can go any way. It can go either way now. I've seen both males and females sport the look that they are, and androgynous. They look like Pat. They literally look like Pat, so... I need more weed. Okay, I'm glad you guys know who I'm talking about. I've only seen them because they get dunked on Twitter all the time. Like, I've seen other people mock them. Yeah, but Flash, you've seen what happens when leftists try to do like a satire on people to get them to fall for it. They certainly fucking fall for it. Last week we did the story of the fencer. Hey, hold on. Let me smoke before we do this. I'm breaking out the bong. Stick around after the stream. We still got plenty of news. We ain't going nowhere. We're going to be here like another hour. Stick around after the stream. I got a special surprise for you guys. We're going to watch something. I'm breaking it out for the first time. I think everybody's going to enjoy. I'm thinking about maybe doing like a classic Comedy Central night. And maybe like you don't know what'll pop up. It might be Reno 911 or it could be South Park. Broad City or Kroll Show or what was that Colin Quinn show? Ooh, what was Dave Attell where he used to go around and go to the different bars and shit? I need to grab that. I don't know. I popped for Saul. He was on Friday. And like he came on, he wasn't talkative. And I'm like, aw, let me down, Saul. I think he even turned, I was doing something else. I think even like, Saul's not entertaining me right now. I love Reno 911. I didn't like it at first. Like, I was doing a lot of 2004, 2005. I was on the road a lot. I'd be in hotels. I just put it on Comedy Central. And, like, at night, they'd just play Reno 911 back to back to back. I'd be doing other things. It'd just come on. And, like, I'd start watching and then, like, oh, God, this is really fucking funny. I really like this show. The Tick and Duck Man. Insomniac with David Till. That's the one. The Tick and Duck. Man, that's two shows that I've not seen in forever. Yeah, Insomniac was the David Tell one. I have a wealth of classic television. Like, just saved to my hard drive. You know, sometimes we pop on, we've done TGIF night. I'll just pop on and play TGIF shows. I've been meaning to do a SNCC night. I have all that, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Clarissa Explains It All. I have all that shit. Pop on and do SNCC one night. And also the fun thing about Reno 911 is seeing like all the famous comedians now came through there. Like everybody was on that fucking show, but before they were famous. Like seriously, every fucking body. It was a lie. What do you mean, like, you don't want to member Barry with me? No, we have not finished Who Is America. We've still got several episodes of it. You'll need to just, like, tell me one night, hey, you should break out Who Is America, and I'll be like, all right, let's do that. But tonight, we got something very special. Everybody's going to like it. Everybody's going to enjoy it, I swear. And you're going to be like, oh my God, thank you. Me too, Tones, but she was way hotter. And like, okay, yes, get back to the news. I'm sorry, clinically. Female fencer Stephanie Turner, who took a knee against trans rival, competed against men 7 times in the days prior to going out there and pulling that stunt that we watched last week. So the woman who said it was unfair to compete against the trans opponent took a knee during a fencing competition, and as I had it explained to me, like it was purposeful for her to like check it, like she could have dropped out beforehand, but she went in and did the whole fucking shebang to put the knee down and get the card on purpose to make a statement. And that's why the trans competitor comes over to her and thinks she's injured or something. Because, like, there was a time for her to protest her opponent beforehand. So this was all for show. The female fencer who refused to compete against a transgender opponent faced off against men 7 times just a week earlier and beat 4 of them. Stephanie Turner was set to battle with Redmond Sullivan at a USA fencing tournament on March 30th, but took a knee in protest and forfeited. She then told the referee, "I'm sorry I cannot do this." Do we need to watch the video? Everybody remember it? This is the video of it. Yeah, she put on the helmet and everything. Oh, they were filming for the purpose of going viral on social media. Turner competed in the Swarthmore College Phoenix Cup in Swarthmore, Philadelphia on March 23rd and made the quarterfinals. The mixed tournament pitted her against male fencers. She defeated Spector and Kovacs in the pool stage, along with two women, losing to Flynn and Chu Esteban, then defeated Lou and Chu Esteban in the finals before being eliminated by Largestapada. Turner usually competes in women's tournaments, but has entered the mixed competitions in the past. Monica Axamit, who won a bronze medal for the U.S. at the 2016 Olympics, said it was odd that Turner made a spectacle of protesting against fighting Sullivan. I think calling her brave is quite comical. I personally think she looks more like a coward than anything else. We regularly train amongst men and boys. We regularly have tournaments against men and boys. She fenced against men a week prior and beat 4 of them, so it wasn't an issue then. Now there's an issue when there's a trans athlete. Go, girl! Akasamit said Turner knew well ahead of time and could have simply told the referee she could refuse to compete instead of setting up a camera for a staged protest. She didn't have to kneel down and make an entire spectacle. The only logical explanation I can come up with is to make it into a headline. That's exactly what she wanted. Probably got paid from a TP USA or something like that. I bet they're going after people like this. The one that was the disc golfer, I looked up her background. She's like a child actor. I absolutely bet TP USA sought her out. Akasmit, who regularly competed against men during her career, said fencing was a very technical sport where men had fewer advantages than others. There is no ideal body type in the sport because it's very mental. While every body type or gender has an advantage, me being 6 feet tall, I also have disadvantages. My center of gravity is different, and changing directions is way harder for me than someone who is 5'5". I also have more target area than they do, and they're lighter on their feet. Even while someone may have an advantage, they also have disadvantages that come with it. I don't think that at the level these women are at, that there can be many physical advantages, as neither is an Olympic hopeful. Boy Meets Minnie, welcome in. I'm sorry I came in at the end of your stream the other day. I always catch people right at the ass end of their streams. Unfortunately, Red Sullivan, the trans athlete that she competed against to make this statement, has been harassed. My entire life is political. Trans fencer attacked by conservative outrage machine speaks out. This is out of the Rolling Stone. Red Sullivan was competing in a minor tournament when an opponent protested her inclusion in a women's event and caused a national spectacle. For more than a week, conservative news outlets and right-wing corners of social media have championed Stephanie Turner, 31, a fencer who took a knee and removed her mask to forfeit a tournament duel against Red Sullivan, who was 19 and a transgender woman. But most discourse around the incident, in which Turner was disqualified by a USA fencing referee with a black card for refusing to compete against an eligible opponent, has obscured important context. Sullivan was reluctant to speak to journalists amid the concocted uproar, she tells Rolling Stone, as she was disheartened by inaccurate, unscientific, and hostile press. My entire life is political, she says, mentioning just how many articles Fox News has written about her and Turner. At least a dozen to date. A dozen. Fox News wrote a dozen articles. How many times did they appear on their TV or one of their commentator shows? How many times did Jesse Waters or Laura Ingraham talk about this shit? How many times did the Five debate it? On top of the 12 articles that they wrote on their website. This is insane. Once again, this is the capitalistic incentive, though. This is Fox News gets a lot of fucking traction on stories about trans people. Demonizing trans people is popular. I'm sorry to my trans homies. It's a small portion of the population out there that actually engages with this content. But they're very ravenous about it. Unfortunately. But once again, it's also a small percentage. He's currently reading Manufacturing Consent, the Chomsky novel, or the Chomsky book, which famously argues that American mass media serves to disseminate propaganda, which is true. There are a million things more important than to talk about a silly little fencing tournament in Maryland. I agree. I wish I wasn't covering it. Let alone a specific bout between two people, neither of whom were going to win the event. Days after Turner's performative exit on March 30th from the annual Cherry Blossom Open Tournament at the University of Maryland, footage of the display went viral on social media. In the clip, Sullivan approaches Turner, thinking that she might be hurt, before her opponent says that she won't fence. In an interview with Fox News, Turner explained her actions while misgendering Sullivan, saying, "I looked at the ref and I said, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. I am a woman and this is a man. This is a woman's tournament, and I will not fence this individual." By that point, video of her protest had been shared by groups such as the Independent Council on Women's Sports, which advocates against trans women in sports, and author J.K. Rowling, who is known for her staunchly transphobic views. What a heroine looks like, Rowling wrote of Turner. Did she really have black mold on her walls? Somebody answer that for me. Turner said on Fox that she had for a while known that she would forfeit a duel if up against a transgender woman, and made a habit of avoiding tournaments where a trans athlete might be registered, claiming that Sullivan had signed up for the Cherry Blossom after her. Turner further predicted that backing out of the duel with Sullivan will probably, at least for the moment, destroy my life. It did not. In addition to her accolades from many journalists, celebrities, and influencers, behind today's moral panic over trans inclusion in sports, Turner received a $5,000 prize and was named a Courage Wins champion by XXXY Athletics, a sportswear brand that also opposes transgender athletes competing in women's sports. Thus, this is fucking advertising for them. They got a PR firm like fucking Nathan For You came in and was like, hating on trans athletes is really big right now. If we manufacture controversy, we can get Fox News to cover the story, and they'll talk about your brand in front of all the bigots that they have captive audience. It's exactly the people you want to advertise to sell your stupid XXXY Athletics. Company said it was inducting her into, and that's the $5,000 that was planned out ahead of time too. We'll let the media coverage die down from the video going viral from the Fox News interview. We'll do the $5,000 and we'll get another day or two of headlines. This is absolutely a PR stunt. This is called outrage marketing if you don't like fucking the Pepsi commercial. Where is it? One of the Kardashians puts a flower into or hands the cop a Pepsi. It's mocking the flower, the handing over the flower to the cop. Kylie Jenner or some shit. And she hands the cop a Pepsi and it's mocking the child handing a flower. Pepsi knew what they were doing. It was supposed to make you mad. Wasn't supposed to sell Pepsi. It was supposed to generate headlines because they got $1 billion of advertising off of an ad they bought like one spot for. May, welcome in. So that's outrage marketing. That commercial was 2016, 2017, something like that. So firms have been doing this for a while. I 100% think some PR firm told Dr. Seuss to like take those books out of circulation because they weren't selling, and that it would create a controversy and sell the books, make the books more valuable. I absolutely believe that was a PR firm came up with that. The Aunt Jemima, the Uncle Ben, all that shit, the Land O'Lakes, that was all a PR move. And it, like, that generated more visibility for their brand than any commercial they could have ever produced. Because now we're so inundated with commercials. You can't turn the TV, just commercial. All over your phone. You open your email, it's got ads fucking everywhere. People tune ads out, so it's hard to, they call it sifting through the noise or breaking through the noise. So if they can get Fox News to talk about your shit for multiple nights, it's better than any commercial that you can buy on a radio station or on a TV station. And right-wing dipshits keep falling for it. Oh my God. However, unlike many sports, it's not uncommon for fencers to train or compete in co-ed settings. In fact, just a week prior to the Maryland tournament, Turner had entered a mixed event at the Swarthmore College Phoenix Cup, defeated 4 different cisgender male opponents, ultimately placing 8th. A sophomore at Wagner College, Sullivan tells Rolling Stone that fencing is an esoteric sport, that it's difficult to understand from outside the community. In fencing clubs, she says, it's understood that you can get something from practicing with anyone and everyone, mostly regardless of gender or age, and that the goal is to fence most people there. She adds, 12-year-olds come up and ask to fence me regularly, and I will regularly lose to certain 12-year-olds who are also especially well-trained or talented. Fencing is not a measure of pure strength, she notes, nor is body size an obvious advantage. U.S. Olympic champion fencer Lee Kiefer, she says, is only 5'4" tall, but routinely defeats significantly taller rivals due to her timing and accuracy. Sullivan, who has been fencing for 6 years and calls herself a mid-competitor, entered men's and mixed events from 2021 through 2023. She first became medically eligible for women's tournaments in the fall of 2024. Since President Donald Trump issued an executive order banning trans women in women's sports, with the NCAA accordingly changing their rules to permit only those assigned female at birth in women's college athletics, she has not fenced for her former women's college team, which she joined and was active in last September. I was bewildered, flabbergasted even. That's what Sullivan says at the moment when Turner refused to duel her, and what she describes as a staged and unnecessary stunt recorded by at least 2 people present. She recalls saying, "Bro, what?" when she heard Turner's remarks. Nothing close to this has ever happened. No one has ever had a problem with me fencing in a women's event. She could have withdrawn herself from the tournament or talked to the organizers and said, hey, I do not want to fence this person, and seen if they could have reshuffled the pools. She actively chose to have this interaction and film it and then send it to people to post it. The original viral post about the clip on social media platform X, she observes, included Sullivan's full name, but avoided naming Turner, whose identity was not public until she began talking to Fox News. As such, Sullivan was far more exposed to the public. On any day of the week, no one would care about the outcome of a fencing tournament, Sullivan says. The only reason people care about this is because of the adjective trans has been attached. She laughs off a Fox News anchor's incorrect suggestion that the tournament was an Olympic qualifying event. It was nowhere near that, she says. It's a regional event, which basically matters only for regional points, and for most people, they're for funsies. She also contests Turner's claim that she had seen their pool matchup scheduled the night before the tournament. The pools weren't posted until 10 minutes before we started fencing on the day of the event, she says. Attempts to reach Turner's rep for comment were unsuccessful. Charles X. Wang, an attorney and board member for the nonprofit Fair Fencing organization, who wrote on Facebook that he was proud to represent Turner in the matter of her disqualification, did not immediately respond to a request for comment. FFO in February announced a crowdfunding campaign to mount a class action lawsuit against USA Fencing over a litany of complaints, including wrongful application of DEI policies. Unfortunately, this stupid-ass tournament that didn't matter to anybody is now the subject of a fucking federal investigation. USA Fencing responds to federal investigation over transgender competitor incident. USA Fencing has acknowledged a forthcoming federal investigation into an incident that occurred at one of its events where a women's fencer was punished for refusing to face a trans competitor. What a good use of government money. Hey, Doge, I got some waste, fraud, and abuse for you. This is a political witch hunt. The investigation, which will be carried out by the newly formed Title IX Investigations Team in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Education and Department of Justice, was announced on Friday by Education Secretary Linda McMahon. Globus, good evening, my friend. Ooh, also, this Friday, I'm going to be on a panel with Globus and producer Dave. 3 o'clock, wasn't it, Globus? I was doing plugs for shit coming up earlier. It's the 5th anniversary show this weekend. Sunday at noon. 7 Eastern time? Ah, even better. Like it even more. I told you whatever time it was. I was like, ooh, that's perfect. A transgender pilot has now filed a defamation lawsuit against a influencer. And I'd like to see more of this.
It has now been 3 months since that mid-air plane crash between a passenger plane and a military helicopter over the Potomac in Washington, D.C. 67 people died, including members of the U.S. figure skating team.
One day.
Is this the right story?
A conservative influencer from Littleton blamed the crash on a transgender military pilot. Pilot Joe Ellis told NBC News she served more than 15 years in the Virginia Army National Guard. She has now filed a defamation lawsuit.
Oh, good on her.
Matt Wallace. According to the suit, he shared a post to his more than 2 million Twitter followers linking Ellis to the crash.
We're going to talk about it today with our legal expert, Whitney Traylor. And Whitney, I guess some of this comes into
what up, Whitney?
Definitions, legal definitions,
Yes.
things like libel, slander, defamation. I imagine they all fall
Well, she wasn't a public figure, so the bar is lower.
into different categories from a legal standpoint.
Yes, actually, libel and slander are forms of defamation. Slander is spoken, libel is written. But defamation, and here I read the complaint this morning, there's 4 elements to defamation. The first one is a defamatory statement, which is one that's likely to harm your reputation. Here, that clearly was satisfied here. It has to be communicated to a third party, went out to millions of people. Has to be false. And here it was clearly false because everyone died, unfortunately, in that tragedy. And then finally, the damages. And here, and that's really where the defamation claims have problems, is with respect to the damages. Because a lot of times it can just be reputational harm or things like that. It's not always monetary damages. But here, I think there's actual significant damages, both economic and non-economic.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody was Any piece of information after that was coming out, and it was a critical time, and people were grieving and everything else. But she had to post something as proof of life, too.
Yes.
Because she had people thinking she was dead.
Right. She had people thinking she was dead, and then, of course, she was getting a lot of hate, and she was trending. I guess when she woke up, her name had been mentioned 90,000 times, and I read the complaint, and they cited a number of these things, and the vitriol towards for her as a trans woman was really egregious, and so that actually speaks to the damages, because here you can have economic damages. She had to hire a private security team for her and her family. I think there were some medical issues as well. But then you have the non-economic damages, the emotional distress. I mean, this is significant. When you go from a private citizen to suddenly being...
Did they mention what the name of the influencer was? I can't find it in the story.
Thrust into the public with the level of hate, it was, I think that's real damages there.
So what about the First Amendment aspect of saying whatever you'd like in our country? Obviously, the old, you can't yell fire.
Oh, you can't do that.
Right.
Like that.
Yes. Well, and it's interesting because all of our amendments have exceptions. There's no absolute rules. So while we have a First Amendment right, the courts have been very clear that you can't cause injury to others. So fighting words, likely to incite lawlessness, things like that. And here, this is a private claim of defamation. And one of the elements of defamation is that it has to be false. And here it was clearly false because she's still alive. She wasn't there at the time. This was
just found it, Minty. Matt Wallace. I've never heard of him.
That's going to increase her damages, and even though we have a First Amendment right, we can't. That's not absolute. And this one, there is a defense to defamation. For example, if it's true, for one, and this wasn't, and then if it's opinion.
Oh, God!
A lot of times you hear folks saying, "This is my opinion."
You can always say what you want, but there are consequences.
Yes,
to what
exactly.
You say, or there can be consequences.
Right, and this private cause of action she has against this influencer. I mean, she's only filed the complaint, so we're early on. But I think
Matt Walsh once called me a formidable voice in the culture.
JustinFREAKIN is a formidable voice in the culture.
Got that Nazi phrenology. Calls himself the CEO of Twitter. Definitely followed by unsavory people I follow. I hope you get what's coming to you, my friend. Good luck with that. You really are the absolute best account on this platform. That's a low bar. Your posts give the reader a challenge to figure out the context behind your writing. It's a great feeling to see your numbers go into the millions, and it should happen more often. Ooh. This is the best account. Wow, I'm not high enough for this ship.
Based on the facts as I've seen them, she has a strong case.
Yeah, it'll be interesting what he says. I mean, I'm sure he's going to say, I didn't know, I was wrong. But that has been shared multiple times, and I even heard it just days ago.
Yeah, and he did try and backtrack, and you can see the complaint. Yeah, he tried to say, I got this from another source and deflect and everything else, but you can't unring this bell.
Well, we'll talk about it and we'll follow it through as always. Whitney Traylor, it's good to see you. Thanks you very much.
Good to see you.
I do a show with a fucking troll head, and I feel like I exercise more journalistic integrity than most journalistic outlets. Let alone these dumb fucks on. By the way, I got blocked by Kevin 24/7. If anybody was wondering. Just in case you were up, wait, where's it at here? It did not take long either. This is the guy We watched the video where he uncovered the paid protesters. John Cena will follow anybody, by the way. You go to like all these people's accounts and John Cena is following them. It's wild. All right, we're in what we call the bullshit part of the show. I need you all to not be horny for this, okay? I need you guys to not be. Just go and interact with him, Flash. He'll follow you back. He's like that. It's wild. I need you guys to not be horny for this, okay? Nobody agreed.
Art lovers packing San Francisco's Embarcadero tonight to witness the unveiling of a 45-foot tall sculpture of a naked woman. The statue, the work of artist Marco Cochran, was first created for the 2015 Burning Man Festival and was slated to stand in Union Square Park. However, because of what Union Square Park officials called unforeseen engineering complexities, the plan to unveil it in Union Square was scrapped.
The details of his human form are just absolutely incredible. Like, you can look down into the smallest details, the most overarching things. It's just beautiful form to look at.
Interesting. The statue, made from fabricated steel and tubing, and features 2 layers of geodesic triangles and is covered.
Geodesic triangles? All I see is some titties.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Geodesic triangles.
And tubing, and features 2 layers of geodesic triangles and is covered by stainless steel mesh intended to create an interplay of light and form.
No. When they have to work on it, do you know where they have to go up? You know where they have to go up? This is the best part.
Life is too short to walk this earth for a crusty asshole. Wash your ass.
I mean, hey, what happened to the guy with the porn addiction? Did this set him off as he got his dick in his hand right now? I love my job. I love bringing this shit to you guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. Apparently that was originally created for Burning Man. From one yuppie festival to another. This past weekend was Coachella. I'm going to introduce you to Horse Girl. Horse Girl is half human, half horse, and a full musician. How she went from the farm to Coachella. We're going to listen to Horse Girl right after the stream, after we drop the YouTube people and Facebook and shit off. I've got to know what this sounds like. Is this Grimes? That's a good... Did she have to repackage herself? Horse Girl says she's a half horse, half human, so... A Minotaur? She's a Minotaur. She's a musician and DJ taking the electro dance world by storm. A centaur. What's a Minotaur? What's the difference between a Minotaur and a centaur? A German DJ and singer explains so much. Yeah, I watched the Milli Vanilli movie over the weekend. German DJs, indeed. The German musician and DJ who goes by the name Stella Stallion identifies as half horse, half human, both on and off stage. Since hitting the scene in 2022, she's taken the electro dance world by storm with songs like My Bard, My Rules and Material Horse. If you're confused, that's understandable. Having not revealed her true identity to date, Horse Girl consistently remains in character and physically presents as a horse, complete with a muzzle, pointed ears peeking out of her hair, and a signature heart-shaped white spot between her eyes. What say you? Anybody turned on? I know there's some furries in the chat. Y'all ain't fooling nobody. Horse Girl says, I was brought up at the countryside, very classic on a farm, surrounded by lots of animals and nature, but I've always been drawn to music. Nature is a very musical place. Anyone that likes to go for a hike knows that there's constantly a concert of all sorts of animals going on. I got into it more professionally after we did an annual Harvest Feast Festival thing, and I was discovered by a really, really famous horse. Also a singer, Whitney Houston. Ever since then, I've been galloping around stages, and 3 years ago, I made the crossover into the human music space. A little bit more, it's been fun. So that was one of the big acts this weekend at Coachella. Another one of the big acts this weekend at Coachella is a man. This is a political ad paid for by Bernie 2020. He's using his campaign funds from the last run. Seriously, Fritter. It would trip me out, Bernie be walking out there. He is running for president. If you're running for president in 2028, now is when you make that decision and start making the moves. And Bernie is coming at it harder than he did in 2016 or 2020. I've been covering politics for a long time. That's not the moves of somebody who is not running for it. And he said he's ran his last time as senator. And if it is something where he's handing it over, maybe he's just a protest again to try to move the party to the left. Use your political capital, dude. I'm down with it. Whatever he's doing, I'm down for it. Because we don't have anything left in the chamber. There's not a lot of people on the bench for the Democratic Party, and the people that are chomping at the bit to get to the front of the party are not the type of people. I don't want Harris to run again. I don't want Josh Shapiro to run. He's doing all he can. I wish Bernie had retired already. I kept telling him, like, go enjoy. I didn't think he should run for Senate again. I was like, go enjoy your retirement, man. You deserved it. You put up the fight. You know, it's our fight now. But he is clearly called. I don't think he wants to. I think he wants to enjoy his retirement and play with his grandkids. His great-grandkids probably at this point. But, like, he's looking around and, like, who else is there? Who else can do it? And I honestly think if he did run, he will say he's going to be a one-term president. He's only going to run for the one time. Get your shit together. Get everything organized. And if you're worried about him surviving long enough, hate is a hell of a motivator. And this motherfucker hates the billionaire class. Passion is a hell of a motivator. I think AOC is going to be in the Senate, Flash. I don't think AOC it's not her time yet. She's probably going to be the first woman president unless, you know, a President Sanders picks I don't think it'd be Warren this time. I think it would be somebody younger. AOC is fantastic, but we do need her in Senate. She would be great as a senator. Senator Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sounds amazing, and she's polling awesome against Chuck Schumer. Katie Porter would be a good pick for Bernie Sanders. But I think she's going to run for governor. She's already announced she's running for governor. I don't know. Who he picks for vice president is probably a discussion to have 2 years from now. Maybe he even picks somebody like a Gretchen Whitmer, who I'm not that opposed to. And that kind of soothes the donor class a little bit more. I'm excited to watch this one with you. This is going to be awesome. This aired on CNN, I think earlier today. This woman says she only dated far-right men for a year.
In the cage with former UFC star turned podcaster Jake Shields to explore the manosphere and why exactly it's so popular.
They speak liberal, they have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating far-right men in New York City for a story for Cosmopolitan magazine.
They're the most insecure men I've ever sat down with.
Oh, hands down.
Some of these dates because they were so insecure because they don't really know who they are and they don't know how to figure that out.
She said the men she dated got all their news and information from the so-called manosphere.
They did not listen to anything else. They're only listening to independent media and they're only listening to men talking to men.
The manosphere is made up of macho
men that don't know shit
influencers.
There's no such thing as an independent female. Most women have zero concept of like money.
Females don't have independent thought.
It's a space where UFC fighters are among those who reign supreme.
They love the UFC guys. They love the MMA guys because those guys do what they can. They're modern gladiators. They're badass.
Badass like Jake Shields, a former UFC star turned podcaster.
Sorry. Now.
Oh, speaking of which, Duke got his ass kicked last night in front of the president.
An MMA gym in Las Vegas.
The Nazi guy.
MMA pros.
I've never hit anyone in my life.
I'm not punching back. Hit me. No, I sit right here. KO, KO, KO.
This is CNN.
Do you miss being full-time pro, like in terms of?
You know, of course I miss it. To go from professional athlete, which is the highest of highs, to retirement.
And I guess the
podcast has helped. You could fall into depression if you just go from the most amazing career where you're famous and spotlights to all of a sudden you're a nobody.
Sure.
Like other podcasters in the manosphere, Jake regularly hosts
Lee, welcome in.
guests.
And I named the podcast Fighting Back. I feel like we have to fight back what we're told we're allowed to do. I just don't like to be told you're not allowed to talk to this person. Like, why can't
it does not make me hungry for cauliflower.
His ideology, but I should hear what he has to say.
He's hosted the former Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan.
Today I have a very, very special guest, Dr. David Duke. I knew you're controversial, but I had no idea how controversial.
And Thomas Russo, the leader of the white supremacist group Patriot Front.
Let's go where we disagree a little bit.
Yes, sure.
Let's hit.
See, I have no problem with. I would sit down and talk to those people, but I would be adversarial with them. That's the difference between me and him.
Race, because you're a white-only group?
So the organization only allows people of American ethnicity, and all Americans, I believe, come from Europe, so they're white.
The true heirs of the American spirit fight on! Yeah, no, I understand and talk to these guys, but I've also not brought anyone hateful. If I do, I'm going to be really, really on top of them.
But so you haven't brought someone hateful on, right? People will say, well, you brought on the Grand Wizard of the KKK, you brought on Patriot Front.
Yeah.
They're hateful.
No, I think those are excellent questions, but if people go and watch the actual interviews, I think they would be like, oh, this guy's not near as hateful as if I expect it.
But Vera says hate isn't what the men she dated were really looking for.
One of these guys brought me to a political meeting.
And did they talk about politics?
Barely. They talked about, it was a bunch of men complaining about girlfriends and wives, regurgitating Andrew Tate type of advice about how to train.
Jason Society, welcome in. Holy shit! Oh, we're gonna have to go back. You guys are gonna be tripped out by this. Welcome in, Raiders. Welcome in. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We find out what that news be doing Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Anti-corporatist. Love it. Welcome in, my friend. We were just watching, we were about halfway through, but I'm going to start it over for you guys because that was so fucking interesting. We were watching a woman who dated only far-right men for a year. And we got Jason in here, so light one up, tip one back. Ah, shit, hit the song. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
All we're establishing is this guy's wicked sick aesthetic.
Not high enough for this shit.
I guess I gotta thank Matt Wall for introducing me to JustinFREAKIN.
Hey there, y'all. We're about to get stupid, locked into what that news beat doing. Fu Manchu and a slick bandana, colder than ice, smoother than Santana. Audio, video, chat and calls. Right-wing nut jobs haunt the halls. What you wanna watch? Hey, what you think? And there's only one choice. It's JustinFREAKIN.
The guy's, he's a formidable voice in the culture.
Light one up and tip one back. It's a right to be high. Let's grab a snack. It's fucking news, clip, panic, attack, and play your cards right and get a titty slap. Jump in Discords, have some fun. The man will talk to everyone. Get high and try to debate. When shit pops off, chat thinks it's great. What do you think you're doing? Join the troll patrol. Wherever discourse is brewing, he gives it that southern drawl.
So let's go ahead and bring in Justin. Hey Justin, how's it going, brother?
First of all, I want to say you're poser South. I'm in Alabama. I'm the real South.
Okay, all right. So why don't you tell us what it takes to be a man?
Well, I don't know. I'm in Alabama and I'll fuck a man in a dress. Why won't you fuck a man in a dress? Are you that insecure that you won't fuck a man in a dress?
That's fantastic. So you're okay with that, right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't I be?
Right-wingers are morons.
Light one it and hit one back. One more clip before we hit the set an alert when that shit goes live. Social fucking support and hit subscribe. Light one up and take a hit. He does no harm, but it takes no shit. He's the last one standing when the ship is sinking. Let's take another rip for JustinFREAKIN.
Light one up, tip one back. I'm JustinFREAKIN.
I'm not high enough for this shit.
You heard the lady. Light one up, tip one back. Thank you for the raid. Jason Society, my friend. Raiders, welcome in. We've pretty much found out what the news be doing for the day. We're kind of in what I call the bullshit section of the show. Hell yeah, let's get high. So we got this woman who apparently went undercover, only dated right-wing dipshits for a whole year, wrote an article about it for Cosmopolitan.
Got in the cage with former UFC star turned podcaster Jake Shields to explore the manosphere and why exactly it's so popular.
They speak liberal, they have liberal friends, and then they go online and they are a white supremacist.
This is Vera Papasova. She spent the last year dating far-right men in New York City for a story for Cosmopolitan magazine.
They're the most insecure men I've ever sat down with. It was really difficult to have some of these dates because they were so insecure, because they don't really know who they are and they don't know how to figure that out.
She said the men she dated got all their news and information from the so-called manosphere.
They did not listen to anything else. They're only listening to independent media, and they're only listening to men talking to men.
The manosphere is made up of macho podcasters and influencers.
There's no such thing as an independent female. Most women have zero concept of money.
Females don't have independent thought.
It's a space where UFC fighters...
I don't like them associating the word macho.
They love the UFC guys. They love the MMA guys because those guys do what they can. They're modern gladiators. They're badass.
Badass like Jake Shields, a former UFC star turned podcaster.
Sorry. Now I'm starting to feel nervous. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, of course.
Who I met at an MMA gym in Las Vegas.
Like all great MMA pros.
I like this dude. He came from Vice, right? He was at Vice 2015, 2016, 2017 kind of time, I think.
I've never hit anyone in my life.
I'm not punching back. Hit me.
CNN has another one of the people that came from Vice. The gal with the glasses.
Do you miss being full-time pro, in terms of...
Yeah, of course I miss it. To go from professional athlete, which is the highest of highs, to retirement.
And I guess the
podcasts help. You could fall into depression if you just go from the most amazing career where you're famous and spotlights to all of a sudden you're a nobody.
Sure.
Like other podcasters in the manosphere, Jake regularly hosts controversy.
I wonder if I doubt the CNN hit talks about it, but I'd say the Cosmo article gets into it if you want to look it up and see if she did actually sleep with any of them. Because I'd imagine that's something Cosmo would ask, right?
Guests.
And I named the podcast Fighting Back. I feel like we have to fight back what we're told we're allowed to do. I just don't like to be told you're not allowed to talk to this person.
What?
Why can't I talk to him? I'm not saying I agree with his ideology, but I should hear what he has to say.
He's hosted the former Grand Wizard.
Report back, Byronic.
Today I have a very, very special guest, Dr. David Duke. I know you're controversial, but I had no idea how controversial.
And Thomas Russo, the leader of the white supremacist group Patriot Front.
Let's go where we disagree a little bit.
Yes, sure.
Let's hit race, because you're a white-only group?
So the organization only allows people of American ethnicity, and all Americans, I believe, come from Europe, so they're white.
The true heirs of the American spirit fight on!
Yeah, no, I understand and talk to these guys, but I've also not brought anyone hateful. If I do, I'm going to be really...
I hope they did clinically.
So you saying that you haven't brought someone hateful on?
I want to know the answer.
People will say, well, you brought on a Grand Wizard of the KKK, you brought on Patriot Front.
Yeah.
They're hateful.
No,
the baddies.
Those are excellent questions, but if people go and watch the actual interviews, I think they would be like, oh, this guy's not near as hateful as if I expect it.
But Vera says hate isn't what the men she dated.
The Grand Wizard of the KKK is not as hateful as I expected.
We're really looking.
He's a pretty reasonable guy.
These guys brought me to a political meeting.
And did they talk about politics?
Barely. They talked about, it was a bunch of men complaining about girlfriends and wives, regurgitating Andrew Tate type of advice about how to train, your girlfriend, how to train your wife to be submissive. And so this group was supposed to be a political group, but they're talking about relationship problems. And the fact that that's what most of the time was spent on, you don't need to be a neo-Nazi. You need therapy.
Yes!
Jake's podcast speaks to a need among young men in this country that Vera says can't be ignored.
You have to incentivize someone to want to be better. You can't just say, let's make men better. The thing about these guys is their biggest support system is online, but that also is very isolating, and isolation is what breeds hatred.
Groups like Patriot Front offer community, but community based on racism and hate.
People
send me the link, Byronic. One of my ad blockers
have the
work.
capacity to talk to people that you don't agree with, because
My
that
20 gazillion that's on this browser.
might change someone's day enough to not have to seek out help in an online support group, which is actually a bunch of white supremacists using political beliefs as an excuse for how they feel.
Yes, that's it.
Now, Donnie, I'm so glad you've done this special. There's
Nail
so
on the
much
head.
intrigue around this issue of the manosphere. And in fact, Trump is going to the UFC tonight. How big of a role does the sport play in the manosphere?
Hey, Isabel, yeah, and look, we should point out at the start here, there's tons of guys who are fans, and some women as well, who are fans of the UFC. I have many friends who are fans of the UFC. It certainly does not mean, you know, that if you are a fan of the UFC, you are falling sort of down this rabbit hole of...
Yeah, but Ron, you can use the archive. I got that
everything
too.
else. But what we are seeing is that there is this sort of, there is this crossover. The UFC is playing a greater and bigger role, really, in American life. Joe Rogan, who's...
Put the URL in that, Byronic, and it'll let you read the article.
Dana White, who is the founder of the UFC, is a prominent Trump supporter and was recently appointed to the board of Meta by Mark Zuckerberg himself, another big MMA and UFC fan. And actually fighting tonight in Miami. Trump is going to the event. We're not sure if he'll
is a neo-Nazi
for the earlier fights, but fighting tonight in Miami at the UFC event is a fighter by the name of Bryce Mitchell, who recently set up a podcast of his own, and on his debut episode a few months ago, he said that Hitler was a quote-unquote good guy or a great guy. Dana White, the head of the UFC, was quick to condemn that, but you know, you can just kind of see there where folks who might be coming into this sport for one reason are a fan of fighting, and then they're getting exposed to views like Bryce Mitchell's.
Bryce Mitchell got to fight in front of President Trump last night. Choked out by Gene Silva at UFC 314 after praising Hitler. Silva put out Mitchell with a ninja choke. I don't think it's called a ninja choke. Fucking British press. At UFC 314, 2 months a ninja choke. Two months after the latter called Hitler a good guy and denied the Holocaust. In February, Mitchell denied the Holocaust, said Hitler was a good guy, with his words branded beyond disgusting by UFC President Dana White, however. White refused to punish his fellow Americans, citing freedom of expression. Mitchell, 30, soon apologized for what he said, insisting he was definitely not a Nazi. I'm sorry I sounded insensitive. I definitely was not trying to offend anyone, but I know I did. I know that a lot of people died in the Holocaust, and that's a fact. Hitler did a lot of evil things. I think we can agree on that. I'm definitely not a Nazi. I'm sorry. If you have to come out and say you're definitely not a Nazi, you are definitely a Nazi. And definitely do not condone any of the evil things Hitler did. In the future, I will be much more considerate when talking about suffering of all peoples. That did not stop fellow featherweight Gene Silva from taking exception to Mitchell's original comments and calling for a fight with him. And that fight played out at UFC 314 in Miami. The Brazilian, 28, applied the submission as Mitchell sought a takedown, with the latter tapping out after the fighters hit the mat. However, Mitchell passed out as Silva released the choke. So there he is. Ooh, Ooh, Silva talking smack in his face as he's laying there unconscious with President Pig Shit watching. Beautiful moment. I hope you all pray for Bryce Mitchell because there's something wrong with him, Silva said in his post-fight interview. In March, Mitchell said ahead of his bout with Silva, every single night since the day before the press conference, I've had demonic dreams. Legions of demons are attacking me every single time I sleep. And not one time have I seen any peaceful sleep since that day. My God. Dude needs psychiatric help, not just a therapist. And probably getting punched in the head isn't going to help his schizophrenia, possibly. Psychosis. These demons surround me, and I'm not a psychologist. I can't diagnose people. These demons surround me, and they try to fight me and provoke me to anger. And then the dream will switch, and they'll send beautiful women. They're trying to get me to lust, to cheat on my wife. Satan is using my two weaknesses to try to expose the evil in my own heart, which is anger and lust. Remember, guys, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness, dark principalities, and evil powers in high places. I'm not just fighting a man on April 12th. I'm fighting a man possessed by a legion of demons. When I simply said the name Jesus, he was provoked to maliciousness, and he started barking like a dog and chanting, "Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you." Remember, guys, the days of me fighting for myself are long gone. I now fight for the name of the Lord, and the devil, he ain't going to waste his time trying to plague a loser. He knows that a victory for the Lord is at hand. I will win this fight in the name of Jesus Christ. The man's demons will be cast out of my presence, and he will fall before me just as Goliath fell before King David. That didn't happen, bitch. Perfectly stable individual who probably shouldn't be getting punched in the head. Might want to stop that. Apparently, Dave Portnoy was at the fight and waved a Jewish flag. Is Portnoy Jewish? Waved an Israeli flag. My bad. I guess he is. He's got the yarmulke on. I was hoping I could see him shit talk. I'm not proud of myself. This is like twice in the last. I'd never played a Dave Portnoy video on my show before. I played him twice in the last week. I'm not proud of it. These are some cougar cubs. These are my second favorite types of cougars. Oh, look at the camera. Twitch people, stick with me. We're going to listen to the horse girl real fast. And then we're going to watch something special. I got something special for you guys. Twitchy people, stick with me. YouTube people, podcast people, Facebook, Kick, Rumble, all that good shit. Light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I'm JustinFREAKIN. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol, live. All right, hold on. I gotta find that horse girl. If you came in with the raid, you might not know what I was talking about. There was this DJ at Coachella. Literally a horse girl. I'm not calling, like, I'm not making fun of her looks or anything. Literally a horse girl.